For the King's Court on 590 The Man.
Now, on the day I was born, the nurses all gathered round, and they gazed in wide wonder at the joy they had found. The head nurse spoke up, said, "Leave this one alone." She could tell right away that I was bad to the bone.
And a good Wednesday afternoon, St. Louis. Welcome into the King's Court. Of course, Kevin Slayton, the King, is out of town. He is going to be enjoying Derek Jeter, the captain's last game at Fenway Park, the King's first trip to Fenway Park, and he will be out of town for the rest of the week. But we've got a best of the King's Court lined up for you. And, of course, the King, one of the best interviewers in the game. So today we will do a little NBA special. We're going to lead it off with the King interviewing Jerry West. Then we're going to kick it to when Tim Donaghy came on the program. And then in the final hour, we'll play some best of segments, perhaps another interview. Tomorrow will be the Penn State special. We'll play Jay Paterno's interview on the show. John Ziegler coming on the show from framingpaterno.com. You can get the whole story on what went down with Penn State and Jerry Sandusky and Joe Paterno right here tomorrow. Then on Friday, it's the Jeff Fisher Defend Your Turf Day. We're going to have all the best from the Kings rants on the Rams, the draft, Jeff Fisher, and the talent or lack thereof on the Rams. So that's what we have for you right here on the King's Court for the rest of the week. Let's kick it to the Kings interview with Jerry West right now.
And we welcome you back in. This is the Pabst Blue Ribbon Gateway Buick GMC Kings Court. Kevin Slayton with you, and we are honored. We're not always honored, but we're honored today to have one of the great legends of sports and certainly one of the greatest basketball players that ever lived with us, and that is the great Jerry West. His book is West by West: My Charmed, Tormented Life. Jerry, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
We're doing well. It's great to have you aboard. Let me just run down some numbers for people who aren't familiar. Well, I'm sure they're familiar, but they may not be used to your career as opposed to today's modern-day players. 14 All-Star appearances, 12 All-NBA team selections, 5 All-Defensive team, 25,000 points without a three-point line, better than 6,000 assists, 5,000 rebounds in only 932 games, 27 points a game, almost 7 assists and 6 rebounds, and you played the guard position. How many would you have scored with a three-point line, Jerry?
Well, you're never sure of things like that, but certainly gives and adds a dimension to the game that we did not have when we played. Today, many coaches realize that this is an important aspect of a game. It can change the course of a game, 2 or 3 3-point shots in a row, and you can erase big deficits where you couldn't in the past. But certainly it would have been something that I wish we would have had when I played, because in many situations it's certainly going to help you win more games, and more importantly, it's going to add to point totals of players who had the ability to shoot that shot.
Jerry West, one of the great players, coached the Lakers, was a monumentally successful general manager, the Lakers winning 7 NBA championships. He built that great dynasty under Pat Riley with Magic, Kareem, James Worthy, and the Showtime Lakers. Later, Phil Jackson with Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Jerry, an Olympic gold medal. You did it all. And yet, as I read your book, I felt there was a lot of sadness in it.
Well, I was really very fortunate to be working with people who, put you in a position to encourage and support decisions that needed to be made that some people may not have done that. And Jerry Buss, who I worked very closely with during his time there, owning the Lakers, and he recently passed away, I guess, over a year ago. And just having him there, who was a new owner, but more importantly, he had a real clear vision of what he wanted to try to accomplish as an owner. And for me, a young general manager, someone who had no, educational training to do that, it was important to have someone like him to encourage you, and more importantly, to listen to some of the ideas that you have, where other people might have thought that today might have thought maybe this isn't a wise a choice for us to do in terms of player personnel and also salaries that were very much a part of the economic system in the NBA then, and certainly a bigger part today as the salaries have escalated, and also the growth of the league.
Jerry West is our guest, Mr. Clutch, Mr. Outside, Zeke from Cabin Creek, one of the greats of all time. His book is West by West. Jerry, I mentioned sadness. When your brother died in Vietnam when you were a younger kid, that really shaped you as a person the rest of your life, didn't it?
Well, there's no question he was a big influence in my life, and I will correct you, it was Korea.
I meant
Vietnam.
Korea. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But anyway, he was a huge influence, I think, in our family. I've often said he was the greatest brother that anyone could have, but more importantly, he was one of the greatest people that you'd ever want to meet. He was deeply religious. He was a person that everyone who came in contact with him, they would always say what an easy smile and what a great person he was to be around. So, for me, because of the way I was at that point in my life, where very quiet, very shy, that was a huge turning point in my life for me, not only as a person, but maybe what I started to think about might allow me to do something a little bit different with my life, because I knew that something that I always felt he was watching over me in terms of my young life. So anyway, it was a huge shock, not only to me but to the people who know him, especially his family.
And Jerry, you talk about that you were a shy kid. You went to West Virginia, you played on the 1960 Olympic team, won the gold medal, probably one of the greatest teams ever assembled. All kinds of success with the Lakers, finally winning the NBA championship as a player, certainly as a general manager, even more success. What were the qualities inside of you that had to come out to achieve that kind of success?
Well, I've always felt that, some people are driven, okay? And I don't think you can look at people and say, well, this person is driven, he wants to accomplish something a little bit different. I was always one of those people. If I loved the outdoors, and to me it was like a whole new world when I could get away from the very few people that were around me at that point in time anyway. I always expected to see, the biggest whatever animal or more importantly catch the biggest fish, and then I fell in love with basketball, and that in itself really propelled me to have the kind of work ethic and more importantly the dedication to get to the point in my life where I felt like maybe I was a little bit better than the average player at that point in time, and particularly early in my career. It's not something I would tell everyone, but I think those things, and I've always said that you're given God-given gifts, and I could run and jump like players in our league couldn't do then, and that propelled me a little bit. But I've always felt that outside of skill, probably the greatest asset a person can have is a strong work ethic, regardless of what you're doing with your life. You just put yourself in a position that no one's going to outwork you. No one's going to. You're going to be grittier than the average person, and I think that's something I possess from a very early age in my life.
Jerry West is our guest. His book is West by West. Jerry, you talk about, and it's a no-holds-barred book. I mean, you talk about everything very honestly with regard to yourself and relationships you had with owners, coaches, and players and teammates. And Phil Jackson is an interesting character because it was a non-relationship that you had basically with him. Jerry Buss, you had a good relationship with, but Jack Kent Cooke, who owned the Lakers before that, not so much.
Well, I'd say Phil had a lot of success, and he wanted to do things his way, which coaches should do. They also should have the dynamics, but for whatever reason, we didn't have the kind of relationship you'd want with someone that you personally put yourself in a position to convince the owner to hire. And I did that. I just thought we'd been changing coaches too much. I felt his his skill set as a coach was going to be something that would allow our players to get to the next level, because we were very, very talented. And he's someone who did that, but I just didn't have a working relationship with him. And a lot of people have asked me about it. I said, it's not terrible. I just didn't have a working relationship with him. And obviously those are the things I think when you look back in your life, you start to wonder, was that Phil? Was it me? I really don't know, but as I say, I've always felt that working relationships with people, and particularly in sports, are just paramount to success, because you can go to coaches sometimes and say, hey, look, I think we can get this player from another team through a trade. What do you think? I think that's important to exchange dialogue about players on your team, about players that could be available in the league. And I did not have that kind of relationship with him at all. But at the end of the day, we made the right decision. I pushed for that, to have him there, and as I say, it was just something that, looking back on it, I've often wondered why we didn't have a better relationship. But as I say, that's not something I really dwell on, because to me, it's about winning. It's not about personal things. You do things internally to give yourself the best opportunity to have a championship caliber team. Because each year there's going to be one team that's going to be real happy, and a number that are not going to be very happy. And we were always right there, close to having championship teams. We won an awful lot of games there during my time with the Lakers, and it was just it was fantastic for the owner to believe in me, to give me a chance to be someone who didn't have the formal training, as I mentioned before, to give me an opportunity to do something that really was part of my life, and say, more importantly, an extension of kind of my childhood dreams, to be candid with you.
Jerry West, our guest, one of the greatest ever, perhaps the greatest guard in the history of basketball, with us. His book is West by West. Jerry, as big as your name was to players who were drafted by the Lakers, and I tried to put myself in that position. If the Lakers wanted me and they drafted me, and someone said to me, well, Jerry West is picking you up at the airport, I would have been stunned. But you did that regularly. As you write in the book, you picked up more people at the airport than most cab drivers.
Well, as I say, today kids are a little bit different today, because they have more people around them in terms of people who have cared for them from the time they're small, the AAU guys and everything. But I always felt it was very important, particularly with younger players, to let them know you cared about them. And I would pick up players all the time. It was just something I thought was important, for them to know that, this wasn't just another team. We tried to have a special environment there for the players. Jerry Buss set the standard for that. And at the end of the day, that was my personality. I remember when I got drafted, to be honest with you, it was one of the weirdest things of all. I really didn't even know I was the second player taking the draft, and I really didn't know till the next day. And had no one really to contact me or let me know I had been drafted. And that's a significant time for any young player. And I found out that watching, all the stuff that the NBA does to prepare their players to come into the league, the coming out party, the day of the draft, to watch those kids there today, I often wondered what I would have felt like when, somebody had said, Jerry West, you're the number 2 player in the draft, you're selected by whoever. And to go up there and be recognized, and I can imagine how proud the parents and the kids who today who have such wide followings, even before they get into the NBA, because of all the publicity. I've often wondered, what that feeling would have been like, but it wasn't in our repertoire then. It wasn't the NBA's repertoire, because we were kind of a second-class league at that point in time. And little did any of us know that we would be part of this process of building this league through an action that was taken in 1964, boycotting the All-Star game, which formed the first union in the NBA. So I saw a lot of things. I saw the development of the league. Saw the change of the league.
In the sports world, a good offense starts with a good defense. The professionals at Lakeside Roofing believe in this same motto for your roof. Our full-time service department provides the defense to ensure that you get the most out of your roof system. A regular schedule of roof assessment and maintenance will ensure that your roof will hold up to harsh environment, particularly spring wind and hail, as well as the overall aging process. Included in the inspection is a personalized preventive maintenance program specific to your roof system. This defensive strategy can extend the life of your commercial or residential roof for many years. Choose the winning team of professionals at Lakeside Roofing. We're a family-owned business that has built a solid reputation for excellent service from the initial call to the completed job. Call us today at 618-344-2800 or 314-241-5253 or visit us on the web at lakesideroofing.com. That's lakesideroofing.com. Choose experience. Choose Lakeside.
Hey, did you know that the two largest boot stores in the world are right here in our town, and they both have the same name, Chuck's Boots? One of them is in Fenton on Gravois, the other's in St. Peters on Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, just off of Highway 70. Each store has between 40,000 and 50,000 pairs of boots. Now, you'd expect boots to be there, but they also have women's fashion jeans. Miss Me, Rock Revival. Jerry West is our guest. This book is West by West. Jerry, when you were playing and the Lakers had a lot of struggles beating the Celtics in those days in those NBA finals, and I know that ate at you, and in fact, in the book you wrote that maybe that's why you walked away from playing, because you just couldn't deal with the pain of losing those championships. How difficult was that? Hiking boots. Every style, every brand that you've ever heard of, they have them at Chuck's Boots. They have over 10,000 pairs of women's cowboy boots. And they also carry all the popular accessories. They have work jackets, work bibs, work shirts, work pants.
And it just got.
They have Western shirts, Western jeans, cowboy hats, belts, jewelry. The biggest selection of motorcycle bags, chaps, jackets, vests, and helmets in our town. Chuck's Boots, the two largest boot stores in the world, are right here in our town. One in Fenton on Gravois, the other in St. Peters on Mid-Rivers Mall Drive.
Hot Shots in Arnold, and now Webster Groves is the place for all the games all the time. Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves is your place for all your upcoming NFL action, and of course our Redbirds. NASCAR is in full swing, and now is the time to form your fantasy football leagues, and Hot Shots is the perfect meeting place. Hot Shots has the best food and drink specials to make the games as fun as being there. Looking for a perfect place for lunch? Well, Hot Shots will get you in and back to work fast after a fantastic lunch. Get caught up on your sports while you have a great view of the beautiful servers as well as the games. It's always a party every day at Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves. Hot Shots gives you every reason to hang out and enjoy yourself with Golden Tee, bags, beer pong, foosball, darts, and all kinds of other games. Hot Shots and all.
I see players that don't get in very many games or contribute very little to teams winning, and it's interesting to me. They introduce him 4 times NBA champion. And I'm saying to myself, well, this guy never did anything to help the team. He was just part of the team, and those things were always frustrating for me. And I knew at the end of the day that I had to get rid of that stigma in terms of how I felt about stuff like that. But I do think we make such a fuss about how many championships players play on, and it's the thing that makes it is not one player, but nature of really good players that sometimes you're able to assemble, and it happens not very often, but it does happen, and it's just very, very difficult to keep teams together today because of salary. But at the end of the day, I think that's the way that everyone judges. Everyone wants to cheer for a winner. I'll tell you, there's more great stories and more sad stories in a loser's locker room than there is winner's locker room, that's for sure.
Jerry West is our guest, the great basketball player whose silhouette is the NBA logo. West by West is his book. Jerry, you've presided over some of the great transactions in NBA history. You were a teammate of Wilt Chamberlain's when they brought him to the Lakers. You were involved in bringing Magic Johnson to the Lakers, as well as Kobe Bryant. Magic Johnson, you wrote that Magic feels that when you're not officially connected to the NBA, it's far worse for you than the stress and anxiety that you encounter on a daily basis running the Lakers. He says this because he's troubled by my seeming inability to find and sustain happiness when it doesn't involve basketball. Is that an accurate portrayal? Is the game the juice that makes you go?
I didn't hear quite all of that question. Okay, if you could repeat it, please.
Sure. You wrote in your book that Magic Johnson is convinced that when you're not officially connected to the NBA, it's far worse for you than the stress and anxiety that you encountered running the Lakers, and that's because of your seeming inability to find and sustain happiness when it doesn't involve basketball. Is that assessment accurate, do you think? Is that the juice that makes Jerry West go?
Well, I'm not really sure about that because, again, one of the things I've never done and don't want to do is put myself in a category that I'm better than someone else. I think all of us are given opportunities in life to try to succeed at a certain level. And some people seem to do a little bit better job. Maybe it's timing. I'm not sure, but I've often felt that one thing that leaders have to do, that they have to be able to make tough decisions, regardless of what, the press or other people think. Magic Johnson has had an incredible career. He was fun to be around, and it's impossible not to root for him. And he was one of those players that was unique, and he still continues to be unique in his success away from the game. And I've always appreciated all the nice things he said about me, but more importantly, I've appreciated watching him play and being a part of his life.
In this book, West by West, from Jerry West, our guest, you describe Magic in his early days with the Lakers because Norm Nixon wanted to handle the ball. And you say Magic without the ball was merely Irvin, a Monet without his brush. That's a phenomenal description of one of the greatest players ever.
Well, sometimes things don't fit together perfectly. Even though we won a championship with Norm Nixon, who obviously was very disturbed that he was traded, Irvin Johnson was a unique player. And again, if he didn't have the ball in his hands, that's where his genius was, not playing without the ball in his hands. And these are the kind of decisions that you make that scare the heck out of you when you make. And more importantly, you incur the wrath of the fans, and many of them were Norm's fans. But he's someone that I coached, really liked him, still like him today. But he was put in a position to do something that I think at the end of the day turned out really good for us to trade. And Irvin Johnson got a chance to be Magic Johnson instead of Irvin Johnson. And he was just a genius with the ball, Monet with a painting, and he was a Monet with a basketball. And those are the kind of things you do sometimes. You go to bed, you go home at night, and you say, what did I do? I traded someone that I really liked. And at the end of the day, it's not the owner, it's you that's going to get the bulk of the criticism. And if it works out fine, you're going to be smart. If it doesn't, you're going to be dumb. And that's why I've never felt that, regardless of what the press would write, positive or negatively, I've never paid any attention to what, frankly, they really say. It hurts when people say nasty things about you because maybe they don't know you. But as someone who's managing a team and working very closely with an owner, the idea is to protect the owner and not yourself. And that's what happened in Los Angeles to a bunch of things we did out there that really weren't popular with our fans nor the press. But at the end of the day, writers could write what they wanted to. And if they called me the next day about something particularly mean-spirited they would write, I would always, I just didn't ignore them, period. I didn't, because I was not trying to help them do their job. But the one thing I really felt was important was to be able to communicate with the same people who were writing positive things and also negative things.
Jerry West is our guest. His book is West by West, one of the best books I've ever read, folks. If you're thinking of a present coming up for anybody in the holiday season as we approach it the next couple of months, this is a great read if you like basketball. Jerry, when you coached you wrote in the book that if you were asked to diagram a play, you couldn't have done it. You wouldn't have known what to write down. You coached Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You mentioned that you didn't think he played hard enough and that you always regretted saying that. And you made a statement that I am in such agreement with. And I look at Kansas last year and Bill Self with the big kid Embiid. And you said, why no other big man has really learned to shoot the skyhook is a mystery to me. Why is that? Why don't coaches teach their big men that?
Well, I think, frankly, the game's changed. Kids today, when they first pick up a basketball, they start dribbling the ball. And, heck, they can dribble like crazy. And, they're shooting shots that guards shoot today. And all of a sudden you get this big growth spurt. And these are players that are more comfortable outside than they're inside. And I know with Abdul-Jabbar, you just don't see players like him. He was just incredible. And he did things so easily that it made you wonder sometimes, my God, if he'd only played harder. And it's probably one of the dumbest things that I guess I think I ever felt in my life, because he was just so graceful that he made the game look easy. He was brilliant, smart, a great teammate. He just had it all. And he had a completely different way about him. He's quiet, introspective, and he and I today have a great relationship today. But the game is changing, and somewhere along the way, the coaches have changed the game. There's not nearly as many shots in the game. It's a much more closely contested game in the sense that not as many shots that have been taken before. And the game is and the three-point shot has changed the game. But I just don't see a lot of players out there that are capable of doing that. I know Kansas had a player this year who was drafted number 2, and I think if he hadn't got hurt, he would have been the number 1 pick. But Joel Embiid, and he's one of those unbelievably graceful big guys who has the potential to affect games and change games on the inside, because that's where he's most comfortable, I think, playing on the inside. But as I say, the game is changing all the time, and you just see different unique players. Kevin Durant from Texas, one of the most unique players I think I've ever seen. Watching him play, someone who's 6'11", 7 feet, and he plays like someone 6'5". He's changed the game. And speaking of him, I do think he's going to be the player that maybe, if he stays healthy, will be the highest scored player in the history of basketball if he can stay healthy, because he just has that kind of ability.
Jerry West is our guest. Jerry, you were instrumental in bringing Kobe Bryant to the Lakers out of high school. What are the risk factors that you thought about when you decided to make that move? And can you explain to our listeners what went into that?
Well, it was, we wanted to try to be able to pursue Abdul-Jabbar, okay? And we were well under the salary cap at that point in time, and our ability to attract him to come to Los Angeles was based upon our history as a franchise, in the sense that we won an awful lot. And we just felt that this would be the best place where he'd have a chance to be able to achieve his goals, and those goals were to win championships. But during that process, we wanted to try to get more under the cap and to have a maximum amount of money to do that. And Kobe Bryant was in the draft, and he was a young player who everyone, thought highly of. But at that point in time, it wasn't in vogue for people to draft high school kids. It just wasn't in vogue. And so I thought we worked him out twice, and it was just amazing the ability he had, plus that kind of it factor. And that it factor was a work ethic and someone who just more than loved the game. And we tried like crazy to trade for him. We tried and tried and tried all the way up and down through the draft. And no one would take a starting center off our team by the name of Vlade Divac. And we were we were fortunate enough to be able to trade Vlade to Charlotte at that point in time, which is now New Orleans. And he had a terrific career down there. He was a very good center. And we got this young, unproven player named Kobe Bryant. And I told our owner the night of the draft when we traded for him, I said to our owner, I said, I think we got the best player in the draft. And again, when you trade the starting player for a player that was drafted 13th and say you got the best player in the draft, it takes some nerve to tell you. It takes some nerve to tell your owner that you feel that this was an enormous trade for you. And it turned out that way. He not only was a great player, but certain players have. It's like they have. I call it gold dust kind of sprinkled on their bodies, okay? And when he was around, you just knew he was going to be special, and particularly after a couple of years, we had an all-star player in Eddie Jones, and we traded Eddie Jones and put Kobe Bryant in our starting lineup because he was just simply a better player. He just wasn't experienced, and it worked out great for our franchise. And obviously, Kobe Bryant has had a storied career, and something that was, when I look back at to see where he's come as a player, and more importantly, his ability to excite crowds, his ability to bring people in the building. It's more than a great player. It's someone who really adds value to your franchise in terms of the dollars he helps create at the box office and off the court, and hospitality issues, support from corporations who want to be involved with you because you have something that other teams don't have. And we were very fortunate to have a number of those players and during my time in Los Angeles. But in writing a book like this, you always need someone to that you can talk to and talk about things that are intimate. And Jonathan Coleman, who was co-author of this book along with me, he just did a great job for me. He drugged things out of me that sometimes I was reluctant to talk about. And I didn't want to write a book that embellished my life as a player. I wanted to write a true factual book and to tell you that there were things about my life that certainly weren't as glamorous as maybe my career was.
And it's a fascinating read in that respect, Jerry, because you unveil yourself as a human being in this book, and you talk about all the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens. And not many guys do that when they're writing a book like that. Did you feel afterward that you were happy that you did that?
Well, I know when you're talking about the personal things, and you see so many people in this country who battle depression, and unfortunately, some of them, they kind of jump off the cliff. And here recently, Robin Williams and his battle with depression, and it's something that I have battled all my life. You had good days, bad days, but I think that in trying to explain it, there's no explanation for it. Okay, something can set it off that things will be going beautifully, and the next minute, all of a sudden, you feel like you're at the bottom of the ocean. And I know that as an athlete, you put so much pressure on yourself to excel, achieve, and more importantly, to try to win and win at the highest level. There was times when in a long season, you just looked at yourself and said, oh my God, what's going on with me? But for me, basketball was the thing that kept my mind off of maybe how I was feeling about myself or things that were going on in my own mind. And basketball was a diversion for me, and certainly it helped me to get through some times in my life when I didn't feel very good about myself.
And as we talk with Jerry West, you with this wonderfully successful life, and Robin Williams with his wonderfully successful life, when people say, how could someone like Robin Williams take his own life, you probably understand that more than most.
Oh, I completely understand it. And I think that, sometimes you get in these dark places, as I call it, and they're difficult to get out of. People talk about therapy. Certainly, there's drugs that can help combat it, but I do know that sometimes you just feel like you're at the very, very bottom, and what causes you to feel that way, I don't know. But there's some awful successful people that have this problem, and for them to have to put up with something that's it's not self-inflicted, that's for sure. It's something that you're either born with or somehow it creeps into your life. But even talking to you about it, it's very difficult to talk about. But there's times you just don't feel very worthwhile.
I can imagine, and I can't salute you enough for being so open in your book and talking with us about it too, because I can only imagine how difficult it is. Jerry West is our guest. His book is phenomenal. It's called West by West, My Charmed, Tormented Life. Jerry, getting back to basketball real quickly, you brought Kobe Bryant to the Lakers, as we mentioned. You coached Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You played with Wilt Chamberlain. Shaquille O'Neal arrived under your watch. And the one guy that didn't, that you wanted to get, was Julius Erving, Dr. J. Tell our listeners how that story almost happened or didn't happen.
Well, it happened, at that point in time, a lot of these franchises were having an awful lot of trouble financially. Okay, they weren't successful, and a lot of teams don't make money today, contrary to what people think. But we had the number one pick in the draft. We had a very good team to start with, and it was a tough decision for us to make with Worthy and Dominique Wilkins. I love Dominique Wilkins, the excitement he brought to the game, but I just felt with the makeup of our team that, and talking to our scouts and everything else, that he would be a better fit for us. And we drafted him, and obviously he was a tremendous player, helped us win championships, but more importantly, probably one of the great teammates you'd ever want to do, want to have. But anyway, it's kind of crazy in the sense that at that point in time, Utah had drafted Dominique Wilkins, and they wanted to sell him. And I tried to get the present owner then for us to put in a bid for him, and our owner didn't want to do it. And it was just something that I felt would have helped fill the seats in our building. More importantly, to bring a player there that I really admired as a player. But it didn't work out that way, but it worked out best for us, and we were thrilled with it.
Jerry West, our guest, as we talk about his book, West by West. Jerry, you talked about coaches that you would have loved to have played for, and a bunch of them: Red Auerbach, Pat Riley, Bobby Knight, Greg Popovich, Red Holtzman, and as you say, strangely enough, even though you didn't have a relationship with him, Phil Jackson.
Well, as I say, I had, I think, 5 coaches in my professional career, 4 or 5. And it made no difference who was coaching me. And I don't mean that the way it sounds, because I thought I was really easy to coach. What they ever asked me to do, I did it. But there's certain coaches I think have a different, unique way about them. And you always want to play for people that maybe will help you be a better coach, but more importantly, put you in a position where you can win more. And there's certain coaches that have done that better, and I just have, because it's such a difficult job. So you look around, you say, who would I wanted to play for? And I just know that from watching teams play, I like teams that play together. I like teams that play hard. Those are the kind of coaches I think that have done that better than others.
Jerry, give us your best Wilt Chamberlain story as a teammate.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that would be very, very difficult. Okay, it really would be. But he was kind of a unique guy, and I always felt that and particularly when Elgin Baylor retired, we were all a little bit older than the other players on our team, and Elgin and I were incredible friends, and one of the great players that ever played that never gets mentioned in that category, which is very sad, by the way. But Wilt and I became not only teammates, but it was really pretty interesting that we would, after games, we a lot of times, days off and when we're on the road, we would eat together in rooms, in each other's room a lot of times, and normally his room, because he always liked to hang around his room, and as all of us did, we didn't go out very much. And but anyway, I remember one night, it was a day before, we were going to play an afternoon game in Detroit, and he said, "Come on up, let's have dinner." And I said, "Okay." And it was early because, and I get up there, and he said, "What do you want?" And I ordered something simple, and I didn't know he had ordered, but pretty soon here comes about four room service guys, and he had ordered 7 different for himself. And I said to myself, I said, "Who else is coming for dinner?" And he said, "No one." He said, "I just wanted a bite of each thing that they had here." But he was funny. He really was funny, and I enjoyed my time with him. And there's so many things that are said. I remember one time we were in Chicago on an airplane, and it was, we didn't fly private as they do today, and we'd play the game in Chicago, and we had to get up very early. And most players don't, or at least I shouldn't say that. I would say that players are have different sleep patterns, and I just didn't sleep very much. And I know Will didn't sleep very much. And we get up bright and early, go to the airport. We had a 7 o'clock flight, and we're sitting out there, and they put us on the plane. They said there's going to be an hour's delay. Now, you remember there's an hour's time difference in Philadelphia from Chicago. So we sat around there 5 or 6 hours, and we had missed 3 other flights we could have taken. And they know this plane is going to take off. And finally, we take off, and we're getting ready to take off. And they called us back on the plane. They let us off. And Will walked on the plane. And everyone else was sitting there. And he said, "If I had a gun, I think I would have taken off myself." And all of a sudden, here comes some security people. They take him off the airplane. And here we're going to Philadelphia, okay, without Will Chamberlain. And everyone was laughing about it. He's so tired, and they're just laughing about it. So we get there at the airport in Philadelphia about 5:15. We go to the hotel, drop our bags off, and go right to the game. No one's really eaten anything, no sleep, no nap, no typical routine that you have the day before a game. And we get to the game, and no word where Will is or whatever, right? And so we're all ready to go, and here comes, all of a sudden, it's about about 10 after 7, Chamberlain walks in the room. The games typically start at 7:35, and he was so mad that, none of us defended him or anything. Well, we couldn't do anything about it, obviously. And so he dressed, and he was furious, but we were on that big winning streak at that point in time, and the first quarter, I think the game was 1 points, okay, and he all of a sudden, we sort of got our second win, and I think in that game he had like 30 some rebounds, 20 block shots when they didn't keep track of block shots. He was just ridiculously great that night. He was so mad. And we end up winning a game by a huge amount of money, but not money, but a huge number of points. And he was obviously, after that, he was so mad. It was actually kind of funny after the fact, but we end up winning the game by, 25, 30 points after being behind, real huge in the first quarter. But that team was capable of doing things like that, and obviously having someone there to rebound and a rim protector that's so important for teams. It was just amazing to watch how he played that night. But he was a character, and gone before his time, like a lot of people are. And as I say, someone I really enjoyed and played against him, with him, and he could just take over a basketball team games like no player could.
Jerry West with us, his book West by West. True or false, Jerry? Would you think? I know it's just a gut opinion. The 20,000 women, true or false for Wilt?
Well, I would say false. Okay, a big false. Okay, a real big false. Yeah. But he was. I always said he was the most. He was the biggest storyteller I've ever met in my life. He once said that he drove from New York City to San Francisco in 23 and a half hours. So, I think that was another exaggeration that I wouldn't want to get into. But he was a character, and as I say, I think he, when you're around him a little bit, some of the things that he would do were really funny. Okay, and he was players used to try to get him riled up. Our players try to get him riled up by saying that, this guy was better than him, that guy was better than him. So it was really pretty funny that to be around him as much as you were, and as intimate as the relationships are in the locker room.
You coached Kareem. You played with Wilt. Who could dominate a game and just take it over more?
Well, they were both uniquely different. Okay, I would say this. I think that because of the way Kareem played, Wilt could just completely dominate a game. I mean, he would, every time down the floor, he wanted the ball. He wanted to score. But Kareem was a player that would score more through the offense, more through movement. He was different than Wilt, but from an effective standpoint, they were both great.
Jerry West.
They were greater than great.
But Jerry West, who was also greater than great. I remember growing up watching Jerry play, and I went down to the old Kiel Auditorium when you came here to play the Hawks, Jerry, on a Sunday afternoon. And it was one of the greatest thrills of my life watching you and Elgin Baylor and those Lakers. Even though the Hawks they hated the Lakers. We hated the Lakers in St. Louis, but we understood greatness when we saw it.
Well, as I say, I've always felt that St. Louis. I remember when they left there, and it wasn't. I felt badly for it because I felt it was a town that was always going to be good for sports, and they have great, incredible baseball support there. They support the hockey team, and it's just a shame that there's not a team there today, because I think it would be a great town for basketball as it's grown. I think all the good colleges around there have. Because of the enormous amount of publicity that these schools get, University of Kansas, all the great players they get there and have had there. To me, it was the next step to go from watching kids play in college to watching them go to the NBA and find out if they could really play as well as people thought they could play. But the NBA is the ultimate stopping ground or proving ground for any college player, and some of these college players who come out of college with these incredible resumes, it's amazing sometimes that they don't do nearly as well as people think they can.
Jerry West has been our guest. We've kept him way too long. Jerry, we appreciate your time. The book is West by West. I highly recommend it. Jerry, got to know John Shaw when he was here with the Rams. Always spoke so highly of you. Please tell him hello when you run into him.
Well, he's a great friend of mine, and as I always look forward, we have lunch a couple of times a week in Los Angeles. He's just a great guy and one of the smartest people I've ever been around in my life, and it's just amazing to me the people that you meet through sports, and more importantly, the people you meet who work in other sports that are executives in their own right, and to see how dissimilar the sports are, but how really similar they are in terms of organizing and running a franchise and giving an opportunity to win on a level that all fans want to see.
Well, Jerry, thanks so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it. West by West is the book. The great Jerry West has been our guest. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Take care now.
You are listening to the Best of the King's Court here on 590 The Man. That was the King's interview with Jerry West after reading his book, West by West. We have to take an extended break here after the long segment, but when we come back, it will be the interview that the King had with Tim Donaghy. This is 590 The Man. This is the Gateway Buick Pabst Blue Ribbon Kings Court on 590 The Man.
In the sports world, a good offense starts with a good defense. The professionals at Lakeside Roofing believe in this same motto for your roof. Our full-time service department provides the defense to ensure that you get the most out of your roof system. A regular schedule of roof assessment and maintenance will ensure that your roof will hold up to harsh environment, particularly spring wind and hail, as well as the overall aging process. Included in the inspection is a personalized preventive maintenance program specific to your roof system. This defensive strategy can extend the life of your commercial or residential roof for many years. Choose the winning team of professionals at Lakeside Roofing. We're a family-owned business that has built a solid reputation for excellent service from the initial call to the completed job. Call us today at 618-344-2800 or 314-241-5253 or visit us on the web at lakesideroofing.com. That's lakesideroofing.com. Choose experience. Choose Lakeside.
Hey, did you know that the two largest boot stores in the world are right here in our town? And they both have the same name, Chuck's Boots. One of them's in Fenton on Gravois. The other's in St. Peter's on Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, just off of Highway 70. Each store has between 40,000 and 50,000 pairs of boots. Now, you'd expect boots to be there. But they also have women's fashion jeans. Miss Me, Rock Revival, Silver Jean Company. And they guarantee you the lowest prices on women's fashion jeans with thousands of pairs in stock only at Chuck's Boots. You won't find that at the jean stores or the department stores. You'll find your size at Chuck's Boots, though. Or they have work boots, Western boots, motorcycle boots, uniform boots, hiking boots. Every style, every brand that you've ever heard of, they have them at Chuck's Boots. They have over 10,000 pairs of women's cowboy boots. And they also carry all the popular accessories. They have work jackets, work bibs, work shirts, work pants. They have Western shirts, Western jeans, cowboy hats, belts, jewelry. The biggest selection of motorcycle bags, chaps, jackets, vests, and helmets in our town. Chuck's Boots, the two largest boot stores in the world, are right here in our town. One in Fenton on Gravois, the other in St. Peter's on Mid-Rivers Mall Drive.
Hot Shots in Arnold and now Webster Groves is the place for all the games all the time. Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves is your place for all your upcoming NFL action and, of course, our Redbirds. NASCAR is in full swing, and now is the time to form your fantasy football leagues, and Hot Shots is the perfect meeting place. Hot Shots has the best food and drink specials to make the games as fun as being there. Looking for a perfect place for lunch? Well, Hot Shots will get you in and back to work fast after a fantastic lunch. Get caught up on your sports while you have a great view of the beautiful servers as well as the games. It's always a party every day at Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves. Hot Shots gives you every reason to hang out and enjoy yourself with golden tea, bags, beer pong, foosball, darts, and all kinds of other games. Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves has the game on 30 large HD TVs and the massive 105-inch screen, so you always have the best view. Hot Shots in Webster Groves at Watson and Laclede Station Road. Hot Shots in Arnold is at 131 Arnold Crossroads Center, close to 55 and Jeffco Roads. Hot Shots in Arnold or Webster Groves, all the games, all the time. The USO of Missouri brings you the Red, Rock, and Blue Benefit Concert Sunday, November 16th at the Pageant. Tickets on sale now while they last to see Scotty McCreery along with Danielle Bradbury, country's newest superstars and winner of Season 10's American Idol and The Voice's Season 4. Together, VIP, general admission, and balcony seats. Call Ticketmaster or the pageant box office today. The Red, Rock, and Blue concert to benefit the USO of Missouri with Scotty McCreery and Danielle Bradbury live at the Pageant Theater Sunday, November 16th.
Need team shirts? Need it fast? Need it easy? Need it right? For custom printed t-shirts, hoodies, and gear for teams, churches, and business, visit Dogfish Apparel online. You can even design online. Go to dogfishusa.com. That's dogfishusa.com. Family owned and operated right here in St. Louis for over 20 years. For all your custom apparel needs, remember Dogfish USA. Online at dogfishusa.com.
Are you planning a big night out? Maybe the boys are going to the game. Or maybe it's going to be that night that never happened for your bachelorette party. Then start and end the night right with class and luxury through Jed Transportation. No matter the party size, they've got the ride for you. Sedans, SUVs, limos, Hummers, party buses. Jed Transportation will get the party started before you even get to your destination. Over 50 years of service and a professionally licensed and trained staff. Jed Transportation is there to make your night perfect and that much more memorable. Call 314-429-2200. 314-429-2200. Jed Limousine, 314-429-2200. Or you can go to a legitimate website for a change, jedlimousine.com.
Hey, our friends at the Ernie Patty Collision Center want you to know always that they're a one-stop shop for all of your automobile repairs. Don't stop in West County for brakes, South County for body damage, North County for paint, and the East Side for engine work. You can get it all done at the Ernie Patty Collision Center, 4823 Potomac, 314-752-0400. Everything from minor paintless dents to major collision repairs. And the mechanical side, from minor to replacement of engines and transmissions. They'll do the simple stuff, tire and wheel balancing, alignments, and they price it just right. A lifetime guarantee on all workmanship and paint at the Ernie Patty Collision Center, where they've gone green. They're environmentally friendly with waterborne paints. Direct repair for most major insurance companies. And if you like getting your car back quickly, like we all do, they'll get it to you fast. You can also watch the progress of your repairs online at ErniePattyCollision.com. Gene Stat and his staff been same place over 25 years now at 4823 Potomac. 314-752-0400.
First thing in the morning as a sports fan, you want to know who won the late night game, who did what, and what's on tap for sports the next day. That's exactly what you're going to get with an STL morning sports show. It is going to give you no commentary, no opinion, just scores, highlights, facts, information along with weather, stock reports, and a few highlights and lowlights in the world of sports. My name's Mike Calvin, and I want you to listen to an STL morning sports show with me from 7 to 9 each morning here on AM 590 and get your sports information to start your day.
We all realize the economy has been on a downturn. Jobs are scarce and money is not easy to come by. That's why it is now more important than ever to use locally owned and operated businesses. I'm Karen Cutis, and at Cutis Funeral Home, we realize keeping St. Louis money in St. Louis strengthens our economy. Cutis Funeral Home is St. Louis owned and operated, employing over 100 St. Louisans in our area and putting money back into our community. Cutis Funeral Home. Affordability with dignity since 1910.
Fall is the best time of year to golf in the STL. The weather is enjoyable and the courses are ready for you. Hopefully you have figured out those flaws in your game. Making a tee time is as easy as checking out the course of interest. Click, pay, and save $10 for using golfaroundstl.com. Go to one of the many courses that subscribe to golfaroundstl.com on their website. Choose your tee time and enter the code 590. That's 590 and get $10 off your game. It's that simple. Golfaroundstl.com tee times must be scheduled within 7 days of the reservation. Use the 590 code and the discount will be applied at the pro shop when you check in for your round. This offer cannot be used with any other promotion and you must have your reservation at the time of check-in. Any question about the service can be directed to golfer at MidwestGolfNetwork.com. GolfAroundSTL.com saves you time and money. Try it today.
Hot Shots in Arnold, and now Webster Groves is the place for all the games all the time. Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves is your place for all your upcoming NFL action and, of course, our Redbirds. NASCAR is in full swing, and now is the time to form your fantasy football leagues, and Hot Shots is the perfect meeting place. Hot Shots has the best food and drink specials to make the games as fun as being there. Looking for a perfect place for lunch? Well, Hot Shots will get you in and back to work fast after a fantastic lunch. Get caught up on your sports while you have a great view of the beautiful servers as well as the games. It's always a party every day at Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves. Hot Shots gives you every reason to hang out and enjoy yourself with golden tee, bags, beer pong, foosball, darts, and all kinds of other games. Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves has the game on 30 large HD TVs and the massive 105-inch screen, so you always have the best view. Hot Shots in Webster Groves at Watson and Laclede Station Road. Hot Shots in Arnold is at 131 Arnold Crossroads Center, close to 55 and Jeffco Roads. Hot Shots in Arnold or Webster Groves, all the games, all the time. PT's brings a whole new twist to auto racing. Now, listen up, even if you're not a racing fan, because this might pique your interest a little more. Friday, September 26th through Sunday the 28th, PT's in Sojay has modified their own class of specialty branded race cars for an unforgettable racing experience. Watch who finishes first. It's only the beginning with this racing at PT Sports Cabaret in Sojay. It's a finish line you have never seen before, and who makes the victory lap will be the true special moment. Come out to PT's 5 minutes from the arch for racing like you've never seen before.
In the sports world, a good offense starts with a good defense. The professionals at Lakeside Roofing believe in this same motto for your roof. Our full-time service department provides the defense to ensure that you get the most out of your roof system. A regular schedule of roof assessment and maintenance will ensure that your roof will hold up to harsh environment, particularly spring wind and hail, as well as the overall aging process. Included in the inspection is a personalized preventive maintenance program specific to your roof system. This defensive strategy can extend the life of your commercial or residential roof for many years. Choose the winning team of professionals at Lakeside Roofing. We're a family-owned business that has built a solid reputation for excellent service from the initial call to the completed job. Call us today at 618-344-2800 or 314-241-5253 or visit us on the web at lakesideroofing.com. That's lakesideroofing.com. Choose experience. Choose Lakeside.
And our good friends at Gateway Buick GMC have a concierge service. Now you think, well, wait a minute, that's an auto dealer. Why would they have a concierge service? That's usually at a hotel, a 5-star hotel. Well, there's a 5-star auto dealership. And they have a concierge service for you. Let's say your car needs servicing, but you can't get away from work, can't get away from your obligations to take it in. You just can't find the time. All you have to do is call Gateway Buick GMC, 314-895-1600, 895-1600. Ask for Victoria. They'll bring a car to you, take your car in. You can drive their car while yours is getting serviced, and then they'll bring yours back to you when it's done. Same thing if you have a GM recall on your car. They'll do the same thing, bring a car out to you. Just call Victoria, 314-895-1600. And then when you're there, tell them you heard about it on our show, and you will get a full oil and lube service. They'll top off all your fluids, tire rotation, multi-point inspection, all for under $40. And if you need new tires, get a price somewhere, and then take it to Gateway Buick GMC, and they'll meet or beat anyone's price on new tires. Now, that's my kind of service deal. Gateway Buick GMC, we are professional grade.
The deals are heating up at Munganast Motorsports just in time for hunting season. Right now, take advantage of special 3.49% fixed APR financing on all new Honda ATVs. Check out our Honda Off-Road Country showroom as well as our wide selection of accessories and safety gear. Family owned since 1965, Munganast Motorsports, located at 5935 South Lindbergh Boulevard, right behind Munganast St. Louis Honda, about a mile north of I-55. Visit us online at MunganastMotorsports.com. Honda recommends utility ATVs for riders 16 years and older and recommends that all ATV riders take a training course. Special 3.49 fixed APR financing available for well-qualified buyers. Not all buyers may qualify. Bonus bucks good with select new and unregistered models. See dealer for complete program details. Monday Night Football comes to St. Louis October 13th as our Rams take on the 49ers. The Miller Coors tailgate party will kick off in the North Lot of the Dome at 4:30 and rock on until game time at 7:30. Cheap beer products, great food, and awesome music. Proceeds from the sales going to help our troops through the USO of Missouri. Come join the fun and get primed for the game. Presented by Miller Coors, the USO of Missouri, AM 590 and 1380, as well as MLM Law Firm, Paul Cerami Kia Ford, and Max Muscle Supplement Store of Brentwood.
Hey, fantasy football fans, football season is heating up. And who doesn't love the excitement of picking your team? It's probably the best part of the season. Well, get this. You can do that any week when you play in 1-week fantasy football leagues at FanDuel.com. This is next level fantasy football. Every week is a whole season at FanDuel. You play for real money, and winners get immediate cash payouts. There's no season-long commitment, so you only play when you want. Plus, you can play in fantasy football leagues for as little as $1. Nothing beats the excitement of living out a whole season of fantasy football in just 1 week. Every week is a chance to win big at FanDuel. And right now, FanDuel is giving you up to $200 free. For every dollar you deposit, FanDuel will match it up to $200. But hurry, offer ends this Friday. The only way to get up to $200 free is to go to FanDuel.com, click the microphone in the upper right corner, and enter the promo code Football72. That's FANDUEL.com, promo code Football, the number 72.
When you need work done on your home, who do you call? A big major contractor? Some no-name guy with a sign on his truck? Or a locally owned business with 21 years experience in the area you can trust? CBS Construction will come out and give you a free estimate for the job you want done. Specializing in roofs and exteriors, CBS Construction can make the home improvement process easy and a finished product you can trust and be proud of. Call 314-723-0177 today. That's 314-723-0177. You've just been arrested for drunk driving. What do you do? A conviction for drunk driving may lead to jail time, a license suspension, heavy fines, and cancellation of your insurance. You have questions, and the lawyers at MLM Law Group have the answers. You need representation by lawyers dedicated to protecting your rights and your driving privileges. Call the lawyers at MLM Law Group at 314-888-5477 today, because there's no such thing as a minor DUI arrest under today's strict laws. Giving in and pleading guilty to a DUI is a decision many people later regret. Don't let a bad decision today affect your family, your career, and your finances tomorrow. Call the MLM Law Group, the official lawyers of 590 and 1380 at 314-888-5477, or visit them on the web at themlmlawgroup.com. If you've been arrested for a DUI, let them put their experience and dedication to work for you. Protect your rights and protect your license. Call the MLM Law Group today at 314-888-5477. That's 314-888-5477. Call today. The deals are heating up at Munganess Motorsports just in time for hunting season. Right now, take advantage of special 3.49% fixed APR financing on all new Honda ATVs. Check out our Honda Off-Road Country showroom, as well as our wide selection of accessories and safety gear. Family owned since 1965, Munganess Motorsports, located at 5935 South Lindbergh Boulevard, right behind Munganess St. Louis Honda, about a mile north of I-55. Visit us online at MunganessMotorsports.com. Honda recommends utility ATVs for riders 16 years and older, and recommends that all ATV riders take a training course. Special 3.49 fixed APR financing available for well-qualified buyers. Not all buyers may qualify. Bonus bucks good with select new and unregistered models. See dealer for complete program details.
590 KFNS, Wood River, St. Louis.
Sports Talk Radio.
Please remove those hats. You're in the Pabst Blue Ribbon Gateway Buick GMC Kings Court on 590 The Man.
Oh, just in here playing my air guitar on a Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back to the Pabst Blue Ribbon Gateway Buick GMC Kings Court on 590 The Man. You are listening to the best of the Kings Court. Reminding you that Kevin Slayton is out of town for the rest of the week. He will be enjoying Derek Jeter, the captain's final game at Fenway Park. So it's that time. The NBA continues on the Kings Court. What a wonderful interview that was with Jerry West. Now we take a different angle on the NBA, and we listen to Kevin Slayton's interview with Tim Donaghy discussing the NBA officiating scandal.
Yes, you are. Kevin Slayton with you on the Pabst Blue Ribbon Kings Court on a Friday afternoon. And we're grateful and honored to have with us Tim Donaghy, the former NBA official, who wrote the book Personal Foul after his NBA career had ended with regard to a betting situation. Tim, welcome to the show. It's good to have you back on after a couple of years when we had you on after the book had been published.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I think that we need to make I'm a big believer that liars should suffer a penalty, but this Wikipedia page of yours that's on there, of course, Wikipedia is not very accurate, but they say that you pleaded guilty in a situation that you were alleged you bet on games, that you officiated, and that you made calls affecting the point spread in those games. The FBI agent that arrested you wrote the foreword to your book and said no such thing ever happened.
That is correct. They never concluded or came out and said that I ever made calls in any games other than what the league wanted us to make that affected the point spread.
Yeah, this, again, goes to the lying culture that we have in this country on the internet. And you've been following, I'm sure, what's gone on with this Donald Sterling situation. And to me, I don't understand the NBA's position whatsoever. If we get to a point, Tim, in this country where we can take a man's business away because he says something that we don't like, I think we're all in trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. I think he certainly did something wrong. There's no doubt about that. But for them to banish him for life and try and trigger him to sell his team, I certainly don't agree with that at all.
Tim, we're looking at a language police issue here where people are saying, oh, you can't say these things. And yet it's obvious that minorities can say the same things without repercussion. When you were officiating in the NBA, did you ever hear racial slurs uttered during the course of a game?
Oh, absolutely. Kevin Garnett used to run up and down the court and scream, "Give me the ball, this white MFer can't cover me." And, to me, that's kind of taking a shot at somebody of the opposite race. So in a way, I felt like that was racism. And it was discussed amongst the league and the referees as to whether that was going to be a technical foul or not because he did it so often.
Did they ever address that situation?
They did. They came out and said that it was going to be a technical foul. So, some people, I would say the black referees ignored it, and I think the white referees enforced it. So it was a situation there where it really depended on, who was officiating the game as to whether he got a technical foul for it or not.
Did they ever suspend Kevin Garnett for that kind of language?
Never was suspended for that.
Did they ban him for life because of that kind of language?
No, nor did they ban Kobe Bryant for, rape and calling one of the referees, a faggot. So
right.
There's a lot of things that you can argue either way as to, did he do something worse than what some of these players have done in the past, or where they're still running up and down the court in the NBA.
And with Kevin Garnett, I'm sure he's not the singular player that ever uttered a racial slur in a game. In your experience, did any of the coaches, when you heard these racial slurs uttered by black players toward white players, did any of their coaches ever pull them from the game?
Never. I mean, never. Just acted like it was a part of the game and it was accepted. Just like you said, if a white player would say something about a black player, all hell would have broke loose. But it's okay for a black player to talk in those terms because it's something that is within their culture and something that they do all the time. So it's not necessarily viewed as racist.
Did you hear black players use the N-word toward other black players during the course of games?
Oh, absolutely. All the time.
And yet nothing was done, was it?
Never. Anyone never even made an issue of it. It was just something that was looked upon as it was okay as long as you, used it towards each other.
Were you shocked, Tim, as we talk with Tim Donaghy here on 590 The Man and 590theman.com, were you shocked at Adam Silver's actions toward Donald Sterling the other day?
Absolutely, because like you said, when you start to talk about taking somebody's livelihood away, I mean, this guy's been in the league for a long time. He's had issues in the past with stuff like this, and it was, definitely dealt with. But, for this woman to set him up the way she did, illegally tape him, and then put it out on the internet for everybody to hear, I think that, you have to understand that, there's times where, all of us say things in the comfort of our home or in the comfort of confiding in someone that, we probably shouldn't have said. And for them to be taped and put out all over the place, I think the guy was basically set up.
Did you have any experience, Tim, in your career, 13 years in the NBA, with Donald Sterling at all?
No, he was a guy. He wasn't a real vocal guy. He sat, courtside, never really said much. I mean, you had owners like Cuban and Starver who just, constantly yelled at the referees. He kind of sat there and was almost like he didn't care whether they won or lost.
That seems to be the criticism of him over the years. But he did hire a black general manager for 22 seasons, and 20 of those 22 seasons were losing seasons. And then when he went and fired him, he was sued for racial discrimination. Does this league play a double standard, do you suppose, between white racism and black racism?
I think it certainly does, especially when you talk about players being allowed to use the N-word, black players being able to say, this white MFer can't cover me, give me the ball. If a white guy said that, I think, he'd be suspended and the black players would want to boycott if something wasn't done.
Yeah. If Larry Bird, for instance, had said, this N-word can't cover me, get me the ball, what do you think would have happened to Larry Bird?
Oh, yeah, nobody would have talked to him, and they would have, suspended him and basically shunned him aside.
It's preposterous what's going on, Tim, in this day and age. And I know that the NBA is no friend of yours after this, after you left the NBA. And I know that a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, whichever it was, you had mentioned something to the effect that the NBA playoffs, while not fixed, certainly have an outcome that the NBA desires. And Adam Silver then issued a statement calling you a convicted felon and the like. And as I said at the time, why don't you address Tim's statements as opposed to trying to scream at him? Just address what he said. Is he right or is he wrong? But they won't do that.
And the funny thing is that he wants to banish me as a convicted felon, but yet, he has several referees on his staff that are convicted felons from the tax scandal when they stole hundreds of thousands of dollars and all had felonies and were put back on the staff and allowed to referee in the finals. Kenny Maurer even went to jail for a period of time. So Joe Crawford has a felony conviction. And, we used to joke around on the staff that Joe Crawford had pictures with David Stern with a farm animal somewhere because of all the things that he's done over the years and has always been able to keep his job and come back. And we saw him do another crazy thing the other night in the Oklahoma City game.
Yeah.
When, rushed Kevin Durant for the ball and then went over and screamed at the people at the scores table. So, still nothing surprises me. A lot of strange and unusual things continue to happen.
Great. As we talk with Tim Donaghy, the former NBA referee and the author of Personal Foul, and now has a website called refspicks.com, a very efficient website. Let me see if I have this straight, Tim. We have NBA officials who are currently working in the NBA who are convicted felons. We have and nothing's happened to them, by the way. They continue to work. We have Donald Sterling, who says something in the privacy, as he believed, in the privacy of his own conversation with his whore, basically. And it's illegally taped and illegally disseminated, and he's banned for life, and they're trying to take his team away from him. Am I losing my mind, or is that exactly the summation of what's going on?
Absolutely, and I'll even go one further. Joey Crawford, who's the top referee on the staff, he has 3 daughters. 2 of them are married to African Americans. Now, when the one daughter, the oldest one, was dating the African American and he used to sneak around the house, Joey used to chase him up the street with a baseball bat because he didn't want him in his neighborhood. So does that make Joey a racist?
Apparently not by the NBA standard unless you're Donald Sterling.
Exactly.
So Joey Crawford doesn't want his white daughter dating a black guy to the extent where he'll chase him out of the neighborhood with a baseball bat, and yet he's the top referee in the NBA's echelon of officials.
Exactly. Now, since then, he's accepted it. They ended up getting married, but at the time when they first started dating, he would literally chase him up the street.
It's unbelievable. This stuff is so preposterous, and yet it happened. You mentioned the incident the other night. Kevin Durant is shooting a free throw, 27 seconds left. He makes the first one. He gets ready to shoot the second one. Joey Crawford, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, erupts after 2 seconds. I counted it. 2 seconds prior, throwing him the ball to shoot the second free throw, goes bananas, grabs the ball from him, runs over to the official scores table, starts screaming at everyone and anyone. Nobody still knows, in my opinion, what was going on. And then Durant misses the free throw. They lose the game by 1 point. Does that smack to you, as it did to me, something is awry with this outcome of this game in terms of betting?
Well, I mean, it's just unprofessional, and he's going over there and he's chastising the scores tables because they don't have the team fouls correct up on the scoreboard, which is something that can get corrected at the next dead ball. Everybody knows it was the first team foul in the last 2 minutes, and the next one would put them in the penalty. And, it's a situation where does this people at the scores table have the right to, every time that Joe Crawford makes an incorrect call, to start hitting the horn and stand up and scream at him? But it's just something that the guy's been unprofessional since he's been in the league for 25 years, and nobody can understand why he's allowed to continue to do the things that he does that affect the game and the outcomes of the games.
And he's a convicted felon, and yet he's still working. What do you suppose is at work there with Adam Silver, David Stern, and Joey Crawford?
I think it's a situation where there's no doubt come playoff time, teams are put at advantages and disadvantage, and it's based on if you're up or down in the series. They put the referees in a room, they show them tapes of the previous games, and they tell them what they want them to call and what they want them to let go, and it always favors that team that's down in the series. The series are always getting extended if possible, and it just means tens of millions of dollars every additional game. So it comes down to money.
So it sounds like, from an outsider's viewpoint, based on what you just told me, that the NBA doesn't really care about competitive balance or the truth of a competitive contest. What they care about is making every series, if possible, go 7 games and and milk it for as much money as possible, to the extent where they'll sit down with the referees and say, here's how I want you to call game 5 or game 6.
Absolutely. When you look at the NBA rule book, there's a set of rules. It doesn't say change it once the playoffs start. It doesn't say change once series is 3 games to 1. You're supposed to enforce the rules based on how they're written in the rule book, and not based on the names on the front or the back of the jerseys, and not based on who's up or down in a playoff series. And yet that never happens. Everything is so subjective that they're able to put these referees in a room and show them videotape and control them, because as the rounds of playoffs move along, so do the referees. And as you progress up into that next round, they pay you more money. So you're going to do each and every thing that they want you to do every time, so that you continue to move up in the playoffs and make more money.
Tim Donaghy is our guest. Tim, does that say anything about the honor code of the officials?
Well, you're doing what any employee wants you to do, and basically, whether if you're in sales and they tell you to do something one way, you do it. If you're in the NBA and you're a referee and they tell somebody to do it, that's what they do, and that's what they get paid to do. And as it's broadcasted on TV, and what the FBI agents told me, they're allowed to do this because it's broadcasted as a form of entertainment. It's no different than pro wrestling, but they just try and project it as that it's everyone's on an even playing field when they're not.
So the FBI told you in the course of the investigation into your betting on games that the NBA can basically fix games by instructing officials how they want the game to go, because it's allegedly entertainment?
Absolutely. And they were shocked of the policies and procedures that the NBA used, and basically put them on notice. And that's what Phil Scala wrote in the foreword for my book, Personal Foul, that they went in and told them that they had a lot of practices and policies that were definitely kind of something that misled the public, and that they needed to have those rectified. To my knowledge, and from what I've seen since my situation, that hasn't been done.
So they ignored the FBI agents' advice?
Absolutely. And when I went to the FBI agents, and I still talk to a couple of them today, they just say it's a form of entertainment and they can do whatever they want to do. There's nothing illegal with what they're doing.
You compare it to pro wrestling. Is that how you see the NBA?
I don't think to that extreme, but yes, in a way. I think that come playoff time, there's a lot of things that take place behind the scenes in these tape sessions that don't make it a situation where every night you're going out there and enforcing the rules as they're written in the rule book. There's always a hidden agenda, and it's always going to favor that team that's down in the series.
Tim Donaghy is our guest. He's a man that I admire greatly. I think he's an honorable man with high character. I think Tim Donaghy got caught in a situation that he was able to make money off of games because he understood how the NBA wanted officials to call games. Never altered a game that he worked whatsoever. That, according to an FBI agent that wrote the foreword to his book. Have I summed that up pretty well, Tim?
Yes, absolutely.
And Tim Donaghy is here to tell us what the NBA is really like. And Tim, when people say, well, you know what, this is a guy who was booted out of the NBA for betting on games, he must have an axe to grind. Do you have an axe to grind against the NBA?
I have an axe to grind in the theory that, I think the whole situation definitely could have been handled differently. My attorney reached out to the NBA. We were more than willing to sit down with them and discuss with them what I did and how I did it. And they just basically weren't interested. They were interested in doing one thing, and that was throwing me under the bus as soon as possible. And, I'm very grateful for the FBI agents in the way that they stood behind me and came out and publicly said that what I said and what was in my book was truthful and that I told the truth at every turn. And they, did a huge investigation into the situation and found to be extremely truthful. And I wrote about it in my book. And, when you read it, it kind of blows people's mind a little bit about what takes place during these playoffs.
And the book is Personal Foul. It's very rare, I would think, Tim, that an FBI agent who arrests a person writes a foreword for their book saying that the person I arrested is telling the absolute truth. But that's what happened in your case.
First time in the history of the FBI that took place. And the day I was sentenced, it was a very tough and painful day. And Phil Scala, the FBI agent who arrested me, actually walked out of the courthouse with me to show his support for me. And as we were walking out, I said, listen, I'm going to jail for a year. I'm probably going to write a book. Would you write the foreword for it? And he said, I'll write the foreword for it as long as I read it first and I believe everything that you put in it is truthful. And that's what we did, and that's what he did. So I was very grateful for him.
It almost gives me chills because here we have a man, you, Tim Donaghy, who was banished by the NBA, and they wanted to leave you for dead. They wouldn't have cared if you had died in prison. Am I right?
Absolutely. I think that was their goal, that I would go away to prison for a long, long time and never be heard from again.
And unfortunately for them, you came out to tell the truth in your book, Personal Foul, with a foreword from an FBI agent. Hardly something the NBA can criticize. So let's accept everything in that book is true, because an FBI agent would not, as he said, write the foreword to it if he didn't believe everything he said was true. But yet the NBA and Adam Silver takes every chance they can to try to discredit you by referring to you as a convicted felon when they have convicted felons that are refereeing NBA playoff games as we sit here today.
Absolutely. And I find it to be very comical because I responded to that in the New York Daily News by telling the writer that the NBA should concentrate more on educating their staff and referees and players on gambling, drugs, wife beating, gun control, and really not worry about what I'm saying, but maybe educate their players on some of these things that could cause them some problems.
Tim, is there a racial bias in the NBA from black players to white players in your experience?
Absolutely. I've seen Shaquille O'Neal play much harder when he had a white defender on him. I've seen Shaquille O'Neal, go after Greg Ostertag with elbows, turning into him much harder than he would if a black defender was guarding him. So, in my mind, absolutely there's a situation where, black players and white players have problems in the NBA, more with the blacks towards the whites than the whites towards the blacks.
And there's a tremendous disparity in terms of the racial makeup of this league. About 80% black, about 19 or 20% white, German, Asian, that type of thing. Charles Barkley said this is a black league. Or Roger Mason Jr. says he doesn't want any family member of the Sterlings owning the Clippers franchise. Has this league been taken over by the black players, and that there is nothing the NBA can do anymore? They have ceded control of their league to the players based on what they've done here.
It sure seems that way because the rumors were that the players were going to start to boycott the games. And I think that's one reason why Adam Silver, took the drastic stance that he did. And again, I don't, think that what Donald Sterling did was something that he should, be proud of or that I would support. But then again, I also don't believe that, he deserves to lose his franchise.
Tim Donaghy is our guest, former NBA referee. When you were officiating games, Tim, if you did attempt to call a technical on the Kevin Garnett's of this world for the racial slurs that he uttered on the court, did you ever hear from the NBA office?
It was a situation where you certainly did, because you had to explain each and every technical foul. Ronnie Nunn was an African-American, and he was one of the supervisors at the time when I was on there, and he would always say, don't have rabbit ears. You don't have to get it every time. If it's loud enough to where, the whole building hears it, then you have to take care of it. But don't have rabbit ears where you have to call it every time.
I believe the last time we talked, Tim, which was a fantastic interview when your book first came out, Personal Foul. And by the way, I would recommend that anyone within earshot of this interview reads Personal Foul if you want to know what the NBA is really like. I believe in the book there was an incident where the NBA sent a videotape to the officials. You were a young official at the time, as I recall, about a certain move that was made along the baseline that Michael Jordan was effective at doing. And you immediately called him for traveling that night. And Phil Jackson stared you down to the point where you went over to him, talked to him, and said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "What are you doing?" And you said, "Well, they sent a video out to call this a travel." And he said, "Well, not on him, they didn't."
Right. They want you to call that, but they don't want you to enforce that on him. Meaning there was a different set of rules for Michael Jordan, and that I was overstepping the boundary, or the way in which they wanted that rule enforced, and that I shouldn't have called it on Michael Jordan. And it was amazing because I'll never forget it. The game was in Philadelphia. He spun right on the baseline, traveled, and went up for a monster dunk, and I waved it off and called a travel. And I got booed by 20,000 fans in Philadelphia, and he was playing for Chicago.
I'm sorry. It's just laughable, the absurdity of this. And yet this fraud is continually perpetrated on the public. And David Stern and, in my opinion, Adam Silver, are co-conspirators in all of this. And they don't seem to care because they know that they have this lily-white, butt-kissing media ready to seize on anything they say if they are at all perceived as against a black man. Adam Silver didn't do the courageous thing on Monday or Tuesday. He did the easy thing. He knew he had the white media behind him.
There's no doubt about it. And now they're coming out and saying that, if one of the owners doesn't vote the way that Silver wants them to vote, that those owners could be in trouble and their group of players could walk, and that they have to be very careful in exposing the vote, and it should be a secret ballot vote. So there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. And, like I said, the guy did something wrong, but I think that he was tricked. I think he was scammed to a certain extent, and I don't believe that he should lose his franchise.
Tim Donaghy is our guest. Tim, tell our listeners about your website.
The website is refpicks.com, and I have 15 handicappers that work for me, specializing in all sports that have a line out in Vegas, and they put plays up there from anywhere from $15 to $25 with, who they feel is going to win and why, and do a little write-up on the game. And people that like to use gambling as a form of entertainment and don't need it, to get out of control in their life and can control it, can just get some advice and get some help and put some money in your pockets by following some of these hot handicappers. And
they are hot, aren't they? They pick a pretty good portion, and so do you.
I did not have the best year as I've had in the previous 2 years, but these playoffs have been very good for me the last month or two. So, I'm excited to, continue those winning ways.
All right, we've got a Game 7 coming up between the Clippers now and the Golden State Warriors after Golden State's win. Who do you like in that Game 7?
Yeah, I like the Clippers. When you look at the history of the NBA, Game 7s are won 80% of the time by the home team. And I don't see this being any different. I think the Clippers are much better than the Warriors. I think they're lucky that it's gotten to this point. And I think at home the Clippers are going to do very well.
How much will it come down to who the officials are?
I don't think when you talk about a Game 7, the last thing you want to do is have officials on the floor that are going to decide a Game 7 and have the wrong team advance. So I think that they're going to put those officials in the room. They're going to tell them to call everything based on the rules in the rule book, and they may show them some things that they want them to call early to make sure illegal screens aren't set, and points of emphasis in regard to rough play going through the post are okay. But, other than that, I think that they're just going to call it like they see it and try and get out of the way if it comes down to a call at the end of the game.
So basically, the one pure game in NBA basketball that isn't colored by the NBA wanting it to go a certain amount of games is a Game 7.
Yes, unless it's the Lakers, and then they're going to get the calls, because we all know that that's happened in the past, that they've gotten the benefit of calls to advance into the NBA Finals. Dick Bavetta was famous in Game 6s for advancing the Lakers to a Game 7, and then in Game 7, I think the best for the league is that the Lakers advance. And we all know David Stern in the past said when he answered a question, what's the best finals matchup? And he said the Lakers versus the Lakers.
Well, why is it just me? I feel like I'm a lone wolf in the wilderness, and you as well. Why doesn't the rest of this country see any of this or pay attention to it?
I believe they do. There's a guy out in Portland that's written a lot of great articles, in the last week and a half for the Portland Oregonian. And, I think people are starting to see it because when their team, in their mind is not getting a fair shake, they want to know why, and they start to do some research, and they say, if all this stuff is going on, why is it going on? And you have to ask yourself why, and it's because, basically the rules aren't being enforced fairly for everybody, that there's a hidden agenda, and the referees referee the names on the front and the back of jerseys, meaning the cities that are playing and the stars that are on the floor.
Tim, did you ever officiate games in which Magic Johnson played?
Yes.
Did you ever hear him utter racial slurs during the course of a game?
No, I never did.
So he didn't.
Not in my presence, no.
How about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who wrote a very scathing column in Time magazine against the media in this issue?
No, I never heard him. I never actually refereed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was gone right when I came in.
And I would assume he would never have uttered a racial slur.
I don't know if he did or didn't, but I know, he has been on coaching staffs and has said, almost nothing to the referees.
Yeah, he's the kind of a guy who I think the NBA ought to start listening to because I think the NBA is in trouble here. This talk of a boycott, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think these players would ever actually boycott? Because if I were running the NBA and players boycotted, I would say to them, here's the deal. Your contracts are now voided and you're banned for life. And that would stop any thought of a boycott.
I don't see these players boycotting in any way, shape, or form because you're talking about a lot of money that they would be throwing away. And, to be honest with you, a lot of these guys are selfish jerk-offs, and I don't think that they're going to, throw away their paychecks in order to walk for some cause that, they really don't believe in their hearts that what this guy did was that bad.
Do you think any of these players really felt offended by anything Donald Sterling said?
No, because I think when you talk about it, behind closed doors, I guarantee you they're saying a lot of things about, white people. And if they were taped, they would be as embarrassed as Sterling was. So I just think, again, this guy was set up, and it all stems from the lawsuit that his wife filed against this woman. And just like you said, the whore that she is. And, she just kind of like threw him out to the wolves and really set him up and ruined him.
Tim, with regard to officiating, the black officials, the white officials, did you ever hear racial slurs from the black officials?
No, but there was, innuendos by some white officials about, black officials that they were being moved up in the playoffs because there was a quota. And it was something that, was discussed that the NBA had to have a certain number of black officials in the finals for the third round, or it was going to create a problem for them. So there was some animosity amongst the officials because of that.
Was that ever addressed by the officials union with David Stern?
No, it was something that was kind of just, if you went in that direction, they would have buried you. So nobody ever, treaded on that.
So if you as a white official would have complained that, hey, wait a minute, other guys who happen to be black, who aren't as good an official as I am by all accounts, are advancing and I'm not, that's unfair, they would have buried you.
Well, I did complain. I'll never forget. You were ranked 1 through 56, I believe, at one point. 26 referees went to the second round. I was rated number 26 one year, and I did not go to the second round. Referee 27 and 28, who were black, went to the second round over me. And I called up and I complained to the supervisor of officials, Ed Rush, because he moved those two referees over me into the second round because he did not like Hugh Hollins, and he was taking him out of the finals, and he didn't like Derek Stafford, and he was moving him out of the third round, and they were calling him a racist. So to masquerade what he was doing to them, he wanted to move black referees up from the bottom, and even though I was rated ahead of them, he put them into the second round ahead of me.
So in order to save his own skin, because he had moved people out that were black, he promoted black referees that weren't qualified.
Correct. He wanted to, make up for the fact that he was going after these guys at the top by pushing people up from the bottom. So nobody could say to him that he was a racist, because he then could turn back around and say, what are you talking about? I just promoted these other two.
It almost sounds, Tim, like the NBA is the most racist league ever created, and they're petrified of being called a racist.
I mean, there's definitely, you can argue it on both sides, I believe. And, I just don't feel that what they're doing to this guy, Donald Sterling, and again, I don't agree with anything that he said, but I think that, he was set up, and I don't believe that he should lose his franchise. And like Penny Marshall said, he's not somebody that's going to go away easy. He's going to fight. He's been a fighter his whole life. And I think that he will prevail in some way.
I agree with you. I think he will fight. I think he will win. I've looked as an attorney. I've looked at the NBA Constitution. There's nothing in there that allows them to take this action unless they create something out of the blue. And I don't think that will fly in a court. And I think Donald Sterling's not afraid of going to court. And I think that's where this is going to end up.
I sure hope so, to be honest with you.
I do too. I truly do. Tim, it is always a pleasure. Let's do this more often. And to tell the folks again, it's refspicks.com, and they can jump on that website.
Yeah, absolutely. Refpicks.com. Again, if you're using gambling as a form of entertainment and you want to get a little help in the selection, it's the website to go to. And my book, Personal Foul, can be found on Amazon.com.
Tim, before I let you go, I'll ask you this question. Why did you bet on games?
I think it just got to a situation where I got into the culture of gambling. I stepped over a line I shouldn't have been around. And it was easy for me. I knew when Dick Bavetta was on certain games, he was favoring certain teams. We'd talk about it at lunch, who was going to be put in an advantage. And I started passing that information along to people that I shouldn't have. And it just spiraled out of control. And if I could turn back the times, I certainly wouldn't do it, but I can't do that. And, no one's more disappointed in themselves than me.
But let's reiterate. The FBI agent that arrested you wrote the foreword for your book and said at no time did you alter games in which you worked.
Correct. And even the NBA said they did their own independent investigation, and they found that I did not make calls in games in order to affect the point spread.
And yet when you criticize the way games are being officiated based on how the NBA is telling the officials to work these games, they brand you as a convicted felon, not mentioning that they have 3 convicted felons working games.
They have more than 3. And, Joe Crawford is a convicted felon, and he's been in more controversy over the last 10 years than any 10 referees together, and yet he still has been given, big game after big game after big game.
Why do you think that is?
Like we used to joke around on the staff that, he had pictures with David Stern with some farm animal somewhere. Nobody could figure it out because it's just a mystery.
Tim, great stuff as always. Let's do it again. And refspicks.com is the website, folks, if you like to bet on a few games for entertainment, but certainly don't bet your house mortgage on it. And it's fun to talk basketball with you, Tim, because I don't know that I could ever get a more honorable, honest person to talk hoops with us right here on the show.
Well, I appreciate it, and you know how to get me, and I look forward to the next time.
We'll do it, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Tim Donaghy, former NBA official. Wow.
Hot Shots in Arnold, and now Webster Groves is the place for all the games all the time. Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves is your place for all your upcoming NFL action, and of course our Redbirds. NASCAR is in full swing, and now is the time to form your fantasy football leagues, and Hot Shots is the perfect meeting place. Hot Shots has the best food and drink specials to make the games as fun as being there. Looking for a perfect place for lunch? Well, Hot Shots will get you in and back to work fast after a fantastic lunch. Get caught up on your sports while you have a great view of the beautiful servers as well as the games. It's always a party every day at Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves. Hot Shots gives you every reason to hang out and enjoy yourself with golden tea, bags, beer pong, foosball, darts, and all kinds of other games. Hot Shots in Arnold and Webster Groves has the game on 30 large HD TVs and the massive 105-inch screen, so you always have the best view. Hot Shots in Webster Groves at Watson and Laclede Station Road. Hot Shots in Arnold is at 131 Arnold Crossroads Center, close to 55 and Jeffco Roads. Hot Shots in Arnold or Webster Groves, all the games, all the time.
Pressure in sports is all part of the game. The home team putting pressure on the opposing team and coming out victorious. But being pressured into something you don't need or want is an entirely different thing. If you have ever been in a situation where you have been pressured to buy, you will understand what I am about to say. There are numerous funeral homes in our area, all looking for your business. Many have quotas that must be met in both dollars and volume, and this can mean pressure. In actuality, many of their funeral directors are just salespeople who are required to sell a certain amount or lose their position. At Cutis Funeral Home, we have no quotas, and because we are locally owned, we have no outside expenses that must be met. This means when you come to Cutis, you will never, ever be pressured into something you don't need or want. I'm Kim Cutis, and I personally guarantee you that at Cutis Funeral Homes, you will never feel pressure.
Locally owned and operated Cutis Funeral Homes with 3 locations, South City, Hampton, and South County.
The USO of Missouri brings you the Red, Rock, and Blue Benefit Concert Sunday, November 16th at the Pageant. Tickets on sale now while they last to see Scotty McCreery along with Danielle Brown, superstars, and winner of Season 10's American Idol and The Voice's Season 4. Together, VIP, general admission, and balcony seats. Call Ticketmaster or the Pageant box office today. The Red, Rock, and Blue concert to benefit the USO of Missouri with Scotty McCreery and Danielle Bradbury live at the Pageant Theater Sunday, November 16th. Monday Night Football comes to St. Louis October 13th as our Rams take on the 49ers. The Miller Coors tailgate party will kick off in the North Lot at the Dome at 4:30 and rock on until game time at 7:30. Cheap beer products, great food, and awesome music. Proceeds from the sales going to help our troops through the USO of Missouri. Come join the fun and get primed for the game. Presented by Miller Coors, the USO of Missouri, AM 590 and 1380, as well as MLM Law Firm, Paul Cerami Kia Ford, and Max Muscle Supplement Store of Brentwood. The deals are heating up at Munganess Motorsports just in time for hunting season. Right now, take advantage of special 3.49% fixed APR financing on all new Honda ATVs. Check out our Honda Off-Road Country showroom as well as our wide selection of accessories and safety gear. Family owned since 1965, Munganess Motorsports, located at 5935 South Lindbergh Boulevard, right behind Munganess St. Louis Honda, about a mile north of I-55. Visit us online at MunganessMotorsports.com. Honda recommends utility ATVs for riders 16 years and older and recommends that all ATV riders take a training course. Special 3.49 fixed APR financing available for well-qualified buyers. Not all buyers may qualify. Bonus bucks good with select new and unregistered models. See dealer for complete program details.
Our good friends at Marshall Wireless have a deal to end all deals. Remember, when I tell you about something, there are no gimmicks, there are no tricks. Nobody's trying to go around end on you. This is the pre-ordered iPhones. You get the exclusive iPhone for life from the Marshall Wireless Sprint stores. That's $70 a month. $70 a month for life, unlimited data, and it includes the cost of your phone. Huh? You don't want that AT&T and Verizon model because that eats data like crazy. You better not have that or you're going to be paying you know what. At Marshall Wireless, by the way, they'll pay your cancellation fee up to $350 in order to get you into their iPhone for life plan. $70 a month for life, unlimited everything, and it includes the cost of your new phone. What would stop you from getting to one of the 16 Marshall Wireless Sprint stores in our town? Get after it, folks. Go crazy, folks.
Need team shirts? Need it fast? Need it easy? Need it right? For custom printed t-shirts, hoodies, and gear for teams, churches, and business, visit Dogfish Apparel online. You can even design online. Go to dogfishusa.com. That's dogfishusa.com. Family owned and operated right here in St. Louis for over 20 years. For all your custom apparel needs, remember Dogfish USA. Online at dogfishusa.com.
In the sports world, a good offense starts with a good defense. The professionals at Lakeside Roofing believe in this same motto for your roof. Our full-time service department provides the defense to ensure that you get the most out of your roof system. A regular schedule of roof assessment and maintenance will ensure that your roof will hold up to harsh environment, particularly spring wind and hail, as well as the overall aging process. Included in the inspection is a personalized preventive maintenance program specific to your roof system. This defensive strategy can extend the life of your commercial or residential roof for many years. Choose the winning team of professionals at Lakeside Roofing. We're a family-owned business that has built a solid reputation for excellent service from the initial call to the completed job. Call us today at 618-344-2800 or 314-241-5253. Or visit us on the web at lakesideroofing.com. That's lakesideroofing.com. Choose experience. Choose Lakeside.
Hey, fantasy football fans, football season is heating up. And who doesn't love the excitement of picking your team? It's probably the best part of the season. Well, get this. You can do that any week when you play in 1 week fantasy football leagues at FanDuel.com. This is next level fantasy football. Every week is a whole season at FanDuel. You play for real money, and winners get immediate cash payouts. There's no season-long commitment, so you only play when you want. Plus, you can play in fantasy football leagues for as little as $1. Nothing beats the excitement of living out a whole season of fantasy football in just 1 week. Every week is a chance to win big at FanDuel. And right now, FanDuel is giving you up to $200 free. For every dollar you deposit, FanDuel will match it up to $200. But hurry, offer ends this Friday. The only way to get up to $200 free is to go to FanDuel.com, click the microphone in the upper right corner, and enter the promo code FOOTBALL72. That's FANDUEL.com, promo code FOOTBALL, the number 72.
Fall is the best time of year to golf in the STL. The weather is enjoyable and the courses are ready for you. Hopefully you have figured out those flaws in your game. Making a tee time is as easy as checking out the course of interest. Click, pay, and save $10 for using golfaroundstl.com. Go to one of the many courses that subscribe to golfaroundstl.com on their website. Choose your tee time and enter the code 590. That's 590 and get $10 off your game. It's that simple. Golfaroundstl.com tee times must be scheduled within 7 days of the reservation. Use the 590 code and the discount will be applied at the pro shop when you check in for your round. This offer cannot be used with any other promotion, and you must have your reservation at the time of check-in. Any question about the service can be directed to golfer at MidwestGolfNetwork.com. GolfAroundSTL.com saves you time and money. Try it today.
Got a traffic ticket? Don't end up in court. Don't end up with points on your license. And don't end up paying higher insurance premiums. Call the lawyers at the Ticket Clinic at the MLM Law Group, the official law firm of 1380. They fight any moving violation, from speeding to a suspended license, even DUIs. In most cases, you don't even have to go to court. They have over a decade of experience and have resolved thousands of cases from only $50 plus costs, if any. An experienced lawyer will go to court for you. And on most civil infractions, they will make sure you end up with no points, no school, and no court. Call the lawyers at the Ticket Clinic at the MLM Law Group at 314-888-5477 or visit them on the web at www.themlmlawgroup.com. Don't pay higher insurance premiums and don't risk your license. Call the Ticket Clinic at the MLM Law Group at 314-888-5477. That's 314-888-5477. Call today.
Do you have rooms that are hard to keep cool this summer? Are those same rooms cold and drafty in the wintertime too? Call Dr. Energy Saver STL for a complete home inspection. Dr. Energy Saver STL has certified building analysts to show you where you're using, losing, and wasting energy and exactly what to do about it.
That's exactly what they did for us, and now our home is comfortable, not drafty, and I love the savings too.
Call Dr. Energy Saver STL at 800-984-4254 or
Folks, I'm going to tell you right now. It's Tuesday. There's no more depressing day than Tuesday, so why not get a pick-me-up? And that's an ice-cold PBR right in the middle of happy hour, which is where we are. An ice-cold Pabst Blue Ribbon. Now, this is the best-tasting beer. It's the best-tasting beer internationally, and it's the best-priced beer. Wow. Is that possible? Yes, it is. Don't pay attention to the propagandists from the local brewery. Pay attention to this. International beer tasting competitions. Facts again. I love facts. International beer tasting competitions have voted Pabst Blue Ribbon gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals every single time they have a competition. And the blind beer tasting panels are made up of the general public and brewmasters. And they keep voting for Pabst Blue Ribbon. They don't know what they're tasting. They just vote for Pabst Blue Ribbon. How do you like that? So we drank it in college because it cost the least, but now we realize we were drinking the best tasting beer as well. Do what I did. Drop your beer for 2 weeks. Whatever it is you drink, try Pabst Blue Ribbon. With an open mind, and I think you'll find out what I did, that it's the best tasting beer. And I guarantee that I'll save you money. You will definitely save money drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon, the best tasting beer. The American original since 1844, the original red, white, and blue. Maybe as original as the flag. But it's the only beer that has an award-winning ribbon as its logo. What does that tell you? Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Are you planning a big night out? Maybe the boys are going to the game. Or maybe it's going to be that night that never happened for your bachelorette party. Then start and end the night right with class and luxury through Jed Transportation. No matter the party size, they've got the ride for you. Sedans, SUVs, limos, Hummers, party buses. Jed Transportation will get the party started before you even get to your destination. Over 50 years of service and a professionally licensed and trained staff. Jed Transportation is there to make your night perfect and that much more memorable. Call 314-429-2200. 314-429-2200. Jed Limousine, 314-429-2200. Or you can go to a legitimate website for a change, jedlimousine.com.
More and more people are setting up prearranged funerals. I'm Kim Cutis for Cutis Funeral Home. The advantages of a Cutis prearranged funeral are many. Not only does it take that burden off your family, but it assures every aspect is taken care of. The Cutis prearrangement is done exactly as you want it. The price is frozen, and there are never additional costs or fees. Talk to me personally, Kim Cutis, or any of our professionals. There is never an obligation. Cutis Funeral Homes, affordability with dignity since 1910.
The deals are heating up at Munganess Motorsports just in time for hunting season. Right now, take advantage of special 3.49% fixed APR financing on all new Honda ATVs. Check out our Honda Off-Road Country Showroom as well as our wide selection of accessories and safety gear. Family owned since 1965, Munganess Motorsports, located at 5935 South Lindbergh Boulevard, right behind Munganess St. Louis Honda, about a mile north of I-55. Visit us online at munganessmotorsports.com. Honda recommends utility ATVs for riders 16 years and older and recommends that all ATV riders take a training course. Special 3.49 fixed APR financing available for well-qualified buyers. Not all buyers may qualify. Bonus bucks good with select new and unregistered models. See dealer for complete program details.
Does all things basementy refer to basement finishing and remodeling?
Yes.
How about basement egress windows?
Sure.
Does all things basementy refer to basement foundation repairs like basement wall cracks and cracks on your first floor?
Yes.
How about basement waterproofing?
Sure, because we're Woods Basement Systems and we do all things basementing. Call Woods Basement Systems at 800-944-8017 for a free estimate or go online to mywoodsbasement.com. That's mywoodsbasement.com. Drafty cold rooms in the winter mean those same rooms are warm in the summer. Call Dr. Energy Saver STL for a free estimate and find out exactly what to do about it and how to save money on your power bill too. If you're an Ameren, Illinois customer, there are incentives, money available to fix your home right.
That's exactly what they did for us, and now our home is comfortable. And I love the savings too.
So call Dr. Energy Saver STL at 800-984-4254 or go online at GrandSlamEnergySaver.com.
Live comfortably and efficiently. Go to GrandSlamEnergySaver.com.
First thing in the morning as a sports fan, you want to know who won the late night game, who did what, and what's on tap for sports the next day. That's exactly what you're going to get with an STL morning sports show. It is going to give you no commentary, no opinion, just scores, highlights, facts, information along with weather, stock reports, and a few highlights and lowlights in the world of sports. My name's Mike Calvin, and I want you to listen to an STL morning sports show with me from 7 to 9 each morning here on AM 590 and get your sports information to start your day.
Friends of Stumpy's House of Barbecue want you to know this about their food. Everything is hickory smoked and slow cooked. Yeah, everything. You can dine in. You can get a carry out. They'll deliver to you. They're in St. Peter's, 620 Jungerman Road, 636-441-7222. They have barbecue plates for lunch and for dinner. And every one of those barbecue plates comes with garlic bread and your choice of any two of the following: fries, fried corn cobettes, green beans, coleslaw, potato salad, or Stumpy's beans. You can get cheese fries, sweet potato fries. You can also get Mom's applesauce. Applesauce and barbecue. You feel like it's July. They also have great barbecue sandwiches. How about the Stumpy's special sandwich? Tender pulled pork or chicken, smothered in their famous Stumpy's original barbecue sauce, and it's topped off with their special coleslaw on the sandwich. 3 distinctively different sauces, great salads, ice-cold beer, phenomenal appetizers, including the famous Stumpy's House of Barbecue smoked chicken wings. Stumpy's skins, Stumpy's nachos, fried pickles, fried green beans. You can buy barbecue at Stumpy's by the pound, ribs by the half slab or full slab, chicken by the half chicken or whole chicken. Stumpy's House of Barbecue, finest barbecue I've ever had in town, in St. Peter's, 620 Jungerman Road, 636-441-7222. Take it home tonight for the entire family.
In the sports world, a good offense starts with a good defense. The professionals at Lakeside Roofing believe in this same motto for your roof. Our full-time service department provides the defense to ensure that you get the most out of your roof system. A regular schedule of roof assessment and maintenance will ensure that your roof will hold up to harsh environment, particularly spring wind and hail, as well as the overall aging process. Included in the inspection is a personalized preventive maintenance program specific to your roof system. This defensive strategy can extend the life of your commercial or residential roof for many years. Choose the winning team of professionals at Lakeside Roofing. We're a family-owned business that has built a solid reputation for excellent service from the initial call to the completed job. Call us today at 618-344-2800 or 314-241-5253, or visit us on the web at lakesideroofing.com. That's lakesideroofing.com. Choose experience. Choose Lakeside.
590 KFNS, Wood River, St. Louis.
Sports Talk Radio.
Now, all rise. You're in the Pabst Blue Ribbon Gateway Buick GMC Kings Court on 590 The Man.
Welcome back to the best of the Pabst Blue Ribbon Gateway Buick GMC Kings Court right here on 590 The Man. You've heard from Jerry West. You just heard from Tim Donaghy. And we've got another powerful interview that Kevin did coming for you right now. He had a good friend of his, Mike Wellington, sit down. They talked a little golf, and then they talked a little bit about a real-life issue, bipolar disorder, that affects a lot of families here in America, and it goes unrecognized. So a powerful interview here with Mike Wellington about bipolar. Thanks for everyone for tuning in to the best of the Pabst Blue Ribbon Gateway Buick GMC Kings Court on 590 The Man.
All right, let's talk a little golf. Mike Wellington joins us. Mike is a professional golfer who has been a friend of mine for years, was an intern with me when I was at 550, and he just came over from Bogey Hills Country Club where they had a professional golf tournament with a $10,000 first prize. I didn't win, Mike. I wasn't there.
It's okay, King. I got to tell you, I'm not here for you. I'm here for the Tilted Kilt Girls. We all know that that's the reason we come and watch your show.
Are you telling me that, that you are selling me down the river for the kilts?
Well, take a look at these ladies. They're beautiful. Why wouldn't I? Can you blame me?
I do not blame you.
That guy is
No, but we had a wonderful showing this week at Bogey Hills. My charity, birdiesforbipolar.org, partnered with Denny Walters and his charity, the Greater St. Louis Golf Charities, and we had a 3-day event at Bogey Hills. And Jeff Schmidt, who is a head golf professional from Perchie Creek in Columbia, Missouri, took home $10,000. He fired a final round 63.
63
in some very wet
now,
conditions.
don't you hold the at least a share of the record at Glen Echo with a 63?
At Glen Echo, yes, but not.
You're amazed at my knowledge, aren't you?
Yeah, you really do know your stuff, don't you? But no, Jeff played really well today. He had a 10 under and was looking at 59 and ended up making a late double bogey, but he ended up winning by 4 shots over Robert Russell, who's a professional from Kansas City. And Mitchell Gregson was third. He's a professional that plays the South American Tour. He's from Waterloo, Illinois. And then my good friend Chris Nagel, he shot 8 under to finish in 4th place. But we had a wonderful event. We raised over $20,000 last night at our auction, our silent auction, our oral auction. And, we're doing some good things with my charity and Denny Walters and Chris Nava, who is a buddy of yours and who's the head golf professional or director of golf, I should say, at Bogey Hills. He did a great job running the tournament. We had a very successful week.
Now you're telling me that the winner shot a 63 and he had a double bogey?
He had a double bogey on the 16th hole.
16?
He was 10 under standing on the 16th tee, made double, ended up shooting 63 and then won by 4. So there was some great golf played this week.
Now the 16th hole, I've played bogey so many times. Is that not a par 3?
It's a par 3 today. It was cold and into the wind. It was playing, I think it was 204 to the back hole location, and it was freezing cold into the wind. I mean, I hit 3-iron today to the back of the green. I'm not sure what Jeff did there, but he made double bogey, but he had already made 10 birdies, so he was fine.
If I have 10 birdies going to 16, I'm going to be okay with a double bogey. Otherwise, I wouldn't be. Hey, I've birdied that hole, so I'm starting to feel pretty good.
Absolutely. It's a tough hole. I mean,
it is a tough.
Today
it
was back right, and today it was directly into about a 25-mile-an-hour wind.
I would actually rather have that pin in the back on that hole. If it's in the front, you flirt with being way short, and if you go long, you're putting down a ridge.
Yeah, that false front, if you don't get it to that hole, it'll come back off the front of the green, and that's trouble there. Bogey Hills, there's a reason it's named Bogey Hills. I mean, you can get into some spots out there, but
you can bogey.
Obviously Jeff Schmidt didn't have any trouble this week at all.
And he's from Columbia?
Yeah, he's a head pro at Perch Creek. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but yeah, he's about 40, and he just played well. He shot 67, 69, 63, and shot 14 under.
That's playing.
There was a lot of good golf out there.
In this weather, you had to deal with rain over there too, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a rain shortage yesterday. We only got 14 holes in yesterday, and Chris Nava did a great job of getting everybody off the golf course in the right time. Denny Walters was good with sounding his horn in time, and just to get everybody safe before the lightning and the dark skies came in yesterday afternoon.
A lot of fun at Bogey Hills this week, but your charity, of course, is a very important one and very close to your heart.
Yeah, I started a charity about 16 months ago. We called it Birdies for Bipolar. We raise money for people that struggle with mental illness, whether it's bipolar disorder, OCD, anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder. One of the neatest things that I've gotten to do with this, King, is I've made a bunch of friends with some of the veterans down at the VA hospital. And these guys, they have a golf league every Thursday at Arlington Greens over at Granite City. And so we play golf every Thursday over there, and these guys are incredible. I mean, some of them have no legs, and they play with specialized golf carts. One of my buddies over there, a guy named Mark Hess, he plays on one leg. All these guys suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar, OCD, anxiety disorder. And, golf is a tremendous recreational therapy for them. And I've really enjoyed my time with those guys the last 2 years. I've played a lot of Thursdays over there, and we have them to my other golf tournament over 4th of July weekend. This year we had it at the Bluffs, and then some of them came out to Bogey Hills this week and helped us with scoring. They handled all the scoring at like the 9th green and the 18th green so we could keep a scoreboard up. And what we're doing with the money that we raise is we are sending these guys to the Missouri Amputee Golf Tournament, which is at the end of September in Columbia. And it's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done. And I never thought that me having bipolar disorder would turn into me meeting all these new guys from the VA, guys that I have great respect for, especially on a day like today, like September 11th. These guys who literally have given their limbs for this country. And, let's be honest, some of them aren't taken care of the way that they deserve to be taken care of. And for them to be able to get out on the golf course once a week and then work on their games and then prepare for these tournaments, whether it's the tournament that we have on 4th of July weekend or this tournament they have coming up at the end of September at the Missouri Amputee Tournament, it's really good to see them out and playing golf and just enjoying themselves because they deserve it,
Mike Wellington is visiting with us after the professional golf tournament over at Bogey Hills Country Club, and Mike has a book. It's called Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar, and it is a fascinating read, Mike. I've gone through most of the book. I've known you for a long time.
20 years almost. You believe that?
That's sad. I met you when I was 15. You are a great guy, but you are an even better guy for having written this book, because I believe that if people can get a hold of this book, anyone who knows someone who might suffer from this disease, and that's what it is.
Yeah, you're right.
This isn't a choice. This is a disease. I know people who suffer from bipolar who will not admit it.
Right.
And who will not get the help they need. And their life could be very happy if they would. Some of the typical results of this disease are you are alienated from your family. You're alienated from your friends. Am I correct in assessing this?
You have hit the nail right on the head. And, I really wouldn't be sitting here with you if I didn't have the help from my family and friends. I mean, my parents have been instrumental in basically not taking my bipolar crap over the years and kind of putting me in my place and helping me to get healthy. I have just a tremendous group of friends that have helped me get healthy. And, you're right. I mean, there's people out there that struggle with this disorder, and I've gotten to a point where I've been healthy for 3 years after really, as you read in the book, 10 years of struggling with it, trying to figure out the right medications, learning that I couldn't include alcohol in my diet, just different things that I had to learn over the years. And luckily, I've been able to do that. And I put a lot of these ideas into the book. I'm excited about the book. The book will be officially out in 2015. And we got some really neat people involved with it. David Faraday, I told you, is involved. He's going to write the foreword for the book. He also lives with bipolar disorder. I'm sure you've seen his show on the Golf Channel.
I have. Mike Wellington's book is Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar. Mike, you just sort of glossed over it momentarily there when you said that you've lived with this for 10 years and you've had struggles. Struggles is not the appropriate word. I mean, it truly isn't. For folks with bipolar, the struggle is vicious. And until you confront it and face up to it, as you have heroically done, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Your life is not going to be good. Your family is going to be alienated. As I said, your friends are going to be. You are not going to live the life you should live. But there is drug therapy.
Sure.
And it helps, doesn't it?
Oh, no question. And it's not just the medication. I mean, don't get me wrong. Medication is key for my health, but it's a combination of taking your medicine, getting enough sleep, keeping alcohol out of your body, getting exercise, and getting therapy. Whether, a lot of people will tell me that, well, I don't have enough money for therapy. I can't afford a therapist. Just because you're not sitting on a leather couch in a doctor's office doesn't mean you can't have therapy. You can have therapy with anyone you trust, whether it's a parent, a friend, a husband, a wife, a sister, a brother. Therapy can happen just, at a table like we're sitting right here. And, everybody in this world has something. I used to look at bipolar as a curse. And now I kind of look at it as a gift because I've been able to get it under control. And now I'm able to share the ideas that I've used to get healthy with some other people that hopefully, will be able to read the book and learn from it. I mean, just to give you an idea, some of these guys that I play in the Veterans League with every Thursday, I gave some copies to those gentlemen who really, I had known them for a couple months. And one of the gentlemen came up to me and he said, "Hey, Mike, thanks a lot for the book. My daughter read the book and it really gave her some great ideas and insight on how to handle bipolar. She was diagnosed bipolar." And, that's the kind of thing, King, that makes me feel really good about what I did because writing the book, it was an interesting trip down memory lane because I had to dig deep into my memory. I wrote the book. I started writing the book right around the time when the Cardinals won the World Series, when David Freese was hitting home runs in late 2011. And I never blocked any of that stuff out. I remember all of it. And I went back and I detailed it and I chronicled it. And I just felt like instead of being someone who was going to whine about having the disorder, I wanted to be someone who could educate and teach other people about it because it is something that can be controlled if you do it the right way.
Mike Wellington is our guest. His book is Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar. He's a professional golfer who suffers from bipolar disorder, and you're hearing what he is doing with that. Mike, I get chills because I've known you for so long, and I'll compose myself.
Say whatever you want, King. It's your show.
No, I'm proud of you.
Well, I appreciate that. And I feel, I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't proud of what we're doing here because, and I didn't want to be someone who was just slinging books. I mean, once I finished writing the book, I sat down with two really close friends of mine and I said, what are we going to do next? We can't just be a greedy, I don't want to be a greedy guy just slinging books. What are we going to do? And that's when we started the charity, birdiesforbipolar.org. And King, the people that I have involved on my charity board, I've got Bob Gassoff involved on the charity board. He's a Navy SEAL. I've got Max Scherzer involved on our board, last year's Cy Young Award winner. I've got business tycoons in St. Louis involved in this. I've got PhD people. I've got all the right people surrounding this to make this thing grow. And, we're only 15 or 16 months old, and we don't have any of our own programs yet, but we're funneling our money into good places like the amputee golf tournament. And I found another program down at the St. Patrick's Center that we've been throwing some money into. It's there's a foundation called the Anthropedia Foundation, and they have partnered with the St. Patrick's Center. And what they do is they take homeless people off the street, they diagnose them with whatever mental illness they may have, they filter them through their program at the St. Patrick's Center, and then they put them out into society and help them find jobs. It's an unbelievable program. And, we're so young, Birdies for Bipolar is so young that we needed to find somewhere to filter the money that we've been raising, because we've been able to raise a little bit the last couple of years with our golf events, and these are good causes that we've been able to find.
What is it, Mike? What trigger said to you during all of these struggles, and you were at rock bottom?
Oh.
You were at rock bottom.
Yeah.
For folks who don't know, Birdie's Bogies and Bipolar is not just a book. It's an introspective look into one's life by the author, which is you.
Sure.
And you came to a conclusion at some point that you had to change.
Yeah, I was never in denial that I had the disorder. In 2001, I got out of college and I moved to Fort Myers, Florida to start my golf career. And I guess my behavior, whether it was on the phone with friends of mine or on the phone with my parents or with my roommate at the time, was very bizarre. And all my friends that I was calling on the phone, they called my parents and they said, hey, something's wrong with Michael. Go down to Florida, see what's going on. My parents came down. They said, hey, we need to bring you to a doctor. And I love my parents and I trust them. So I didn't put up any fuss. I went right to the doctor. And sure enough, the doctor brings me in the office and he says, Michael, here's a list of all the traits that a bipolar person has. And so I started going down the list and I'm like, well, I got that. I got that. I got that. I'm like, I have all these things. And so I was never in denial that I needed, or that I was bipolar, but I was in denial that I needed medication, because as a golfer, I was concerned that if I started taking medicine, it would change my touch around the greens. It would change, maybe it would change the way I swung the golf club. It would change just my athleticism maybe a little bit. So that was where I was very scared about taking medication. And from 2001, when I was diagnosed, all the way to 2006, I was not consistent about taking my medication. And as you've read in the book, those years were completely wild, with the culmination in 2006 of me spending 30 days in Barnes Hospital trying to get myself healthy. And luckily I was able to do that.
Mike, you talk about you were able to recognize those traits, and yet the medication comes and you start taking the medication. And in the book you detail how there's a point where everything's going wonderful for you. And I've heard this story from other from other folks who have bipolar disorder. As you become, in your mind, more normal and everything's going well, your thought process is naturally, I don't need this medication
Isn't
anymore.
that right?
Why should I take it anymore?
I can't explain that. I don't understand that aspect of it myself. It's weird. It's almost like a pitcher that has a no-hitter going. Why would you change anything that you had going during those first 6 or 7 innings for the last couple innings, But it's weird because the bipolar mind, as we were talking about off the air, the bipolar mind is very me, And I think when you get healthy, and I would go for stretches where I would take the medicine and I would continue to be healthy, and then I would get to a point where I'd be like, well, I've been healthy, everything's been fine, I don't need the medicine anymore. Well, that's just blasphemy. I mean, and now I would never do that. But it's a very tricky little thing. I don't really understand why that goes down with bipolar people. People they get going the right direction, taking the medicine the way they need to, and then all of a sudden they stop. I mean,
but what hits you because you took it, then you stopped, and now you say you'd never stop. But what is it that hit you that said, Mike, you can't stop. You've got to continue to take it. It's not good, even though you're having these highs. But of course, the lows are going to follow.
Sure. I can tell you the epiphany moment that I had was in 2006. I was in Barnes Hospital during that 30-day stint that I told you about, and I had 2 separate interventions of 4. I had 4 friends of mine come to me on one day, and then 4 different friends come to me on the second day, and they all said the same thing. They said, Michael, we love you, but we cannot be friends with you any longer unless you take your medication. Because at that point, I was really causing havoc within my family. And my parents would always say that to me, but I didn't really accept it from my parents. It was almost like you fall back. When you're in a bipolar haze, you fall back into that 16-year-old mentality of, I don't want to hear anything my parents have to say. So luckily, I had these 8 guys. A couple of them one drove from the Lake of the Ozarks to come up here and talk to me. I had those 8 guys, 4 guys on each day, sit me down at Barnes Hospital and just kind of get in my face a little bit. I mean, they weren't ugly, but they just said, listen, you need the one thing you need to make sure you do is you need to take this medicine, because the common denominator with all these hospital stays I would end up in from 2001 to 2006 was I wasn't taking my medicine. So bottom line is those guys all sat me down, guys who very smart guys I played sports with, guys who are successful in business. I just had great respect for all those guys. And once I heard that coming from my friends, then it kind of flipped the switch on. And I was able to realize I needed to take it every day.
You mentioned, as we talked with Mike Wellington, his book is Birdies, Bogies, and Bipolar. You mentioned that the bipolar mind thinks me.
Yes.
Is it a selfish thing or is it an attention-grabbing thing?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that the bipolar mind moves at a very, very fast-paced rate. Bipolar people are very, very intelligent. I mean, if you look at a guy like Faraday, I mean, that guy is amazing on television. You could look at a guy like Ted Turner. He's bipolar. Great actor Ben Stiller is bipolar. Frank Sinatra was bipolar. I mean, bipolar people are very gifted, really, mentally. But you have to be able to keep the speed of the brain, from getting out of control. And, there is that me. There's a selfishness to it. And luckily, I think it's probably because of my dad's upbringing, being a Jesuit guy. He went to St. Louis University High School, then he went to Spring Hill College. He was a man for others, and he kind of taught me, not to be as selfish as maybe I would be if I didn't have my dad. But it's the bipolar mind, when it's manic and when it's depressed, can be very selfish, and you got to try to stay in that middle ground.
And it's highs and lows, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the mania is the manic highs, and the mania are the things when, I went to there was times in 2005 and 2006 where I didn't sleep for like 3 weeks in a row. I mean, I'd sleep maybe 30 minutes a night, maybe an hour a night, and that was the mania. And my struggles with it were more on the mania side. I mean, I guess because of my lifestyle, I was traveling the country playing golf, and I went out late and carousing and drinking too much. And once I was able to quit drinking in 2011, my life changed a lot for the better.
So the drinking exacerbates the bipolar condition.
Of course, because if you think about it, let's say you go out for a night of drinking, okay? You go out with some buddies, or you go out on a date, you're having a great time, and the enjoyment of the alcohol that evening for those 4 or 5 hours is fun. I mean, I remember it. It was great. It was some of the greatest times of my life. But that can kick you into mania, and then the next day, alcohol is a natural depressant. So the next day, all that alcohol that's still in your body, the mania is over because you're not with your friends from the night before. So the next day you're depressed and you're feeling down. And that's why I finally realized that for me, and any advice I would give any bipolar person, keep alcohol out of your system. I mean, it's just, I look at alcohol now and I think to myself, it's poison. I really do.
Did you turn against your family and your parents and your friends at some point? And by turn against, I mean you just didn't want to hear what they had to say. Sure.
I mean, there was times when, I one time I physically got into it with my, not a big dude, I'm 6'3". I know your dad. Yeah, you know my dad. I mean, my dad's about 5'9", $160, soaking wet, and I'm 6'3", 220. And there was some times we got into some shoving matches. And kudos to him because he wasn't going to take any of my crap, and I appreciate that for that. But, I had gotten into, situations with friends, arguments and things that probably wouldn't have happened if I was not in a manic state.
Had you been taking your medication?
Right. And, so there's certain things like that happen all the time with the bipolar, and the mania can just, it makes you, it makes you just so much more intense. And you just have to watch it. I mean, even though today I'm still healthy, I'm much healthier than I was 3 years ago. I definitely keep alcohol out of my system, but there's times when I, like just on the golf course today playing, I mean, I got angry. Yeah, I'm an athlete. I want to compete. I want to do well. And you got to watch that anger.
The Bible will tell you righteous anger is just fine. That's a belief of mine.
Okay.
When anger becomes destructive is when you use it to attack someone, whether verbally or in Ray Rice's case, physically.
Well, luckily I never got to Ray Rice's level, but verbally, I'm not afraid to say I lost my temper verbally, whether with the bipolar over the years, and it's something that I've had to. I don't know if it's maturity. You grow into, as you get older, you grow into being a little bit more subdued, a little bit more laid back. But the disorder, when it's out of control, it is a ticking time bomb. Faraday. I was with Faraday last year at St. Albans, and he called it a what did he call it? A Doberman pincher on steroids, or a pit bull on steroids, or something like that. I mean, it's really, if the bipolar spikes out of control, it can cause havoc in anybody's life.
And Mike, what stops you from going back into that scenario? In other words, okay, something happens in your life, it's not what you want.
Right.
So naturally we feel bad.
Right.
What stops him saying, screw it, I'm not taking this medication anymore, I don't need it?
That's a great question. I think just because, for me personally, I think because I've had all of these strange situations happen to me. I mean, this thing has brought me to within inches of my life. I mean, I almost lost my life down on 141 in Valley Park and 141 and 44. I almost lost my life on Highway 40. And I think because those things happen to me, now I'm able to keep an eye on it. But, you know, one of the reasons I wrote this book and one of the reasons I started the charity is because when I was 23 years old, when I got diagnosed, I really could have used someone my age. I'm 36 years old now. I really could have used someone to give me some advice and learn from, because when I was diagnosed, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea.
Your younger brother, 7 years younger than you, said to you, "When are you going to grow up?"
Yeah.
You put that in the book.
Yeah, that's true. I had gotten into some trouble from drinking, and I was in a manic state, and my brother had to pick me up at the police station at Richmond Heights. And, you know, he's 7 years younger than me. We're walking to the car after he gets me out of the slammer. And he did say that to me. And that really kind of was eye-opening, because he's my kid brother. He's my baby brother, and I look at him like that.
But still, you have a disease. So how are you able to process that with the disease thing? You know, I'm thinking aloud here.
Sure.
People with that disease would say, well, screw him. What does he know?
Well, I think that's a good point. But I think because he's my brother, you know, he's one of my best friends, if not my best friend with my dad. He's a guy that's caddied for me. He's been there for me in the heat of battle and competition. So from just that standpoint, from him being my caddy, not even my brother, I always listen to my caddy, you know.
Had your brother and your father not confronted you and told you, what the hell are you doing, do you think you'd be sitting here today with
Absolutely
us?
not. There's no way. And my mom really is the tough one. I mean, she's the strong one. She's from the south side of Chicago. She doesn't take any crap. And I at the time when all these things are going on, I'm thinking to myself, man, my parents are tough, man. But now I really, really appreciate them so much more, because I'll tell you a funny story. I was down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, visiting a college friend of mine maybe a year ago, and I had given him a copy of the book. And I said, his name was Billy. I said, Billy, did you read the book? And he said, yeah. He said, your parents just weren't going to take your crap, were they? And I said, no. And thank God they didn't. And, you know, kudos to them. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. The only reason that I'm healthy today is because of my family and my friends, and that's it. I'm very, very extremely lucky to have all these friends I have, not just in St. Louis, but all over the country. I mean, I've been lucky to travel the country playing golf for many years, and I have friends in a lot of different cities. And, you know, there's some friends of mine that now they know that I had the disorder, but when I told them about the book, they were like, well, Michael, we've never seen you in a weird state. We didn't even know you had the disorder.
Oh, no, you can a bipolar will, you wrote in your introduction in the book, in fact, if you meet me in public, you won't know it.
Right.
If you sit and talk to me, you won't know it.
Right.
If you're my friend, chances are you won't know it unless you're with me on these manic episodes.
Right.
It's an amazing disease in that sense.
Right. It's almost like I was subliminally able to hide it, but I wasn't trying to hide it. Right. I just was being myself. And like, yeah, if someone,
good time Charlie,
if someone, yeah, exactly. If someone were to play golf with me now, and then at the end of the round, they would say, I could tell them, well, I'm bipolar. And I've had that happen a couple of times in the last year or two. They would be like, you are? I don't believe that. They
say, well, I knew it when you had that ball in the trees. And
Sure. Now, if I hit it out of bounds and I start stomping down the right side of the fairway,
well,
yeah.
I must be bipolar because I've been doing it a lot.
Sure. But I mean, you know,
what the hell's going on out here?
But I mean, you know, my hero playing golf growing up was Freddie Couples, so I always try to act like him on the golf course. I try to be real even keel and not get too excited. And still, that fire still burns in me. But I don't want to be the guy that's slamming clubs and chucking clubs and all that kind of stuff. But you know, the disorder definitely probably had an effect on my play. You know, probably still has an effect on my play to a certain extent, but it can also be helpful. You know, sometimes, you know, you might need a little kick in the butt to get going after making a bogey and to go make a birdie. So it could be helpful.
But more so than your professional golf life, what about your personal life?
What do you mean by that?
How did this disease affect your personal life? And not just with your family, which we already heard that it affected it greatly, but your family was tough and stood up to you and said, what the F are you doing?
Right.
What about your personal relationships?
Yeah, I mean, the disorder.
You wrote a lot about a woman named Hope in your book.
Yeah. Hope, what a great girl. Certainly the disorder has cost me relationships. It's cost me a couple of friendships that, you know, I still kick myself a little bit about. because sometimes the disorder gets out of control, and I might have said things that I shouldn't have said, and it gets your anger to a level where you really will attack someone verbally when you're in a manic state, or even a depressed state. And those, some of those relationships that I had lost, some of them have been mended, but some of them have been lost forever. And that's difficult, but there's nothing I can do about that now. But you have to, what I've tried to do from those is learn from those.
Have you tried, Mike? In other words, when a relationship went awry because of something you might have said that you wish you wouldn't have said, can it be mended with a conversation? Hey, I'm really sorry. Here's what I was dealing with.
I think to a certain extent, you could blame some things on the disorder, but I'm kind of a no excuses type person. So, there may have been times when I did things that were caused by the disorder, but in my healthy states, I don't want to blame anything on the disorder. But at the same time, there's things that I would do differently.
Sure.
I think anybody might.
Well,
say
we'd all
that.
do things differently,
right? But there's been times when I look back and I think, and there's things in the book that you've read that are completely embarrassing, but I felt like I needed to tell those things in order to be transparent about exactly what the disorder can do to the human mind when it's not healthy.
Mike Wellington is our guest. His book is Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar. You mentioned me in your book.
Of course I mentioned the King. Well, I always had a...
Was I part of the problem?
No, it's funny because I don't think you ever saw me in a bad state.
I did not.
In the times I've known you.
Never did. I played golf with you.
Sure.
You have interns for me.
Right. We've been out to dinner many times. Yeah.
I've never... the most shocking revelation to me was when you called me and told me, or texted me and told me about the book and about the disorder. Sure. I would have never guessed it.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that to me. Some people just don't know. Friends of mine, you're a perfect example. I've never seen you when I've been in a state of mania or a state of serious depression, and people just don't know that it's there. But it obviously the book shows that it was. But I always had a wonderful affinity for broadcasting. I mean, obviously, I interned for you when I was in college. I was able to one of the best broadcasting jobs I ever had. I got into broadcasting a little bit, but my favorite broadcasting job was for the Missouri Tiger baseball team.
As you articulate in the book quite a bit.
Oh, King, that was one of the greatest jobs I ever did, and I got to be honest with you, I didn't make any money. I made $25 a game. I was losing money.
Those are usually the best jobs.
I was losing money driving to Columbia, back and forth from St. Louis to Columbia because I wasn't getting paid enough, but that gave me a great opportunity to be on a team again with my old friend Tony Vitello from DeSmet. His dad's a legendary coach from DeSmet, Greg Vitello, and Tony was an assistant coach, head recruiter, and Max Scherzer was on that team, and we had a great team. We made it to what would be the equivalent of the Sweet 16 in the College World Series. And I'll tell you what, out of all the things that I regret or that I'm disappointed that I lost from bipolar disorder, the number one thing was I got really sick at the end of that baseball season. I called 60 games, and then I wasn't able to go with the team to Malibu for our Super Regional for the College World Series. And out of all the things that happened to me, that would be the one thing that I wish I could do over, because that would have been so much fun being with all those guys. And some of these guys, Scherzer's obviously a star. He's won the Cy Young, but there's a bunch of other guys in that team that have been in the majors or got a taste of the majors, and there was just a great chemistry with that team.
You're a great athlete. You're a great golfer, a professional golfer. You talk about being around the team, the baseball team.
Sure.
I often wonder, and I often thought about this in my own life, where I was a pretty good athlete, but never could get to that elite level. And I thought, when I watch guys who did, you're one of them. And I see them not get even further.
Sure.
Or retire, even a successful career and retire. I think, what happens? And was this part of it for you?
Right.
What happens when you no longer have that competitive situation to wake up to every day? How difficult is that?
That's a very good question. I'm not there yet. I still like.
You're much younger.
I'm 36. Yeah, I got to compete this week, and my golf games, it's not real sharp right now. I mean, I played today. This week was my 7th, 8th, and 9th competitive rounds of the year. But this year and last year, I've been working on the charity. I've been working on my book, but I love to compete. I love that you get
nothing like
on the first hole. I love the adrenaline that you get coming down the stretch. You can't recreate it. There's no drug.
There's no business.
There's no drink. There's nothing that you can do to recreate that or make that happen. And My plan is I want to get this charity going in the right direction, get this book out there. And I'm not married. I don't have any children. I'm 36 years old. I still got some competitive golf left in me. Now, there's other things that are more important right now. And I think that was one of my problems for many years that hindered me with the disorder. I put golf so high up on the pedestal that I didn't take care of my health. And now I finally got my health in order. I don't have as much time to play golf right now, but I got a feeling there's going to come a day, whether it's, a year from now or 6 months from now or 2 years from now, when I'll be playing a lot more competitive golf. But I have felt so rewarded by working with those veterans and getting the word out about people with bipolar. I had a friend of mine who I play golf with at Persimmon Woods who called me the other day, and he said, Michael, my 18-year-old daughter just got diagnosed bipolar. Would you talk to her? And I said, absolutely. Let's go have dinner. We went and had dinner, and I gave her a copy of the book. And, because I know that I would have benefited so much at 23 years old when if I would have been able to talk to someone. Because, again, when you're a young kid in your late teens or your early 20s, the last thing you want to hear is what your parents have to say about it. Right. And I don't know why that is, but that's just the way that it is.
Because it is.
Yeah. I mean, and it's weird, but that's the way that it is.
Because your parents don't know anything.
Yeah. When in reality, my parents knew all along.
That's right. But you were blessed because
Very much
they wouldn't put up with it, and they confronted you. And I don't mean by confrontation something that's untoward or some physical. I mean confrontation, meaning, come on, we got to address this. We've got to talk.
Right.
The worst thing probably that could have happened to you is that no one would sit down and talk with you. If they would ignore it and just say, okay, fine, you're who you are, you would still be that way, wouldn't you?
I think so. I mean, I think unless my parents, if my parents didn't confront me or, I remember when I was going through some hospital situations in the early 2000s, my sister was living in North Carolina at the time. And, I was mad at my parents, so I didn't really want to talk to them. But my sister was a great outlet because I could call her on the phone and she could be the person I could talk to because I didn't want to listen to my parents at that time. And then,
were you BSing her?
No, I think at that, when you're in that situation, because that's where I was. I mean, I've had 5 or 6 mental hospital stays in my life. I mean, one was in Florida, the rest of it all been in St. Louis. There's always want to talk to, but there's always at least one person that you can confide in. And you mentioned Hope, the girl that I dated for a long time. She was a person that I could confide in. My sister was a person I could confide in. And then eventually, I got to a point where, I could talk to my parents about everything without a problem. But I don't know. And I think that's why I'm a big proponent of therapy. And like I said, you don't have to sit on somebody's couch, a doctor's couch. You can have therapy with, your cousin or your brother. Therapy, just talking things out with whatever issue you have,
right,
is important.
I firmly agree with that. I'm a big proponent of ignoring.
Absolutely. The more you turn your back on it, at least for me with bipolar disorder, the more it engulfed me.
Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar, Mike Wellington's book. Mike has been our guest. He is a friend of mine. He interned with me. I have never been so impressed by anyone in my life.
Well, I thank you.
After reading your book.
I appreciate that very, very much.
With you here today. You are an impressive human being, my friend, who confronted it, who is willing to talk about it, to admit it. There aren't many people with the courage that you have shown. There just aren't.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I promise you when the book comes out, you've got the first edit copy. It's one of the secret copies. When the real book comes out in 2015, I'll come back on and we'll talk more, and we can cover any of these topics because I just think it's important. We were talking off the air about mental illness, and it's becoming so much more in the mainstream, and everybody has something. We
all have stuff to deal with.
Yeah, and
let's not hide from it.
Exactly, and there's wonderful drugs out there and wonderful doctors that you can utilize. But like you said, when people turn their back on those things, those tools, life can be.
Talking to someone right now who you suspected of bipolar disorder, what would you? And they would not get help. They would not get help from their family, from doctors. Mm-hmm. No, it's not me. What would you say to them?
The first thing I would say to anybody like that is, do not put alcohol into your body. Do not do it. It is like pouring gasoline on a fire. And let me tell you something. I know because I tried it. I tried it for years. I went to school in Alabama where we drink whiskey. And I tried drinking, St. Louis is a drinking town, as you know. So I've been around drinking drinking my whole life. And, my life changed for the better, especially probably overall, but definitely took the edge off my bipolar when I stopped drinking in October of 2011. No doubt about it.
So don't drink and then get help.
And take your medicine.
And if you've been diagnosed, take your medicine. Don't ever stop.
Absolutely.
Mike Wellington, Birdies, Bogies, and Bipolar. My friend, you are impressive.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure to share I appreciate that. Always a pleasure to share the airwaves.
If I had known when you were interning with me, I would have promoted you ahead of me. Hey, Mike, thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate
When business
it.
owners compare DS